Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Kong podcast episode. It has been a while since I've done one, but I am back to doing more Kong podcast episodes, and I am honored to do this very special episode here. That an honor to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Peter Jackson's blockbuster hit from Universal, King Kong. And we have a special guest here for tonight. Please welcome back Walter, Jedi Grand Valley, and the Omni Viewer. And please welcome back to my very special guest here is BigJackFilms.
Hello! I do not have any plans to do a 20th anniversary event this year, so I'm doing this instead because I got Star Wars.
Yeah, and I was and I don't know for sure. I invite Billy from Godzilla Battle Royale, that who I had him on my podcast before of 2 episodes. I mean, I don't know if he might be running a little late, but I don't know when he'll join. But it depends how long this episode is going to be.
Sure.
Yeah. I am honored to have you guys join because an honor to celebrate Peter Jackson's King Kong 20th anniversary year. Can you believe it? 20 years.
We got old. We got old. I mean, I'm feeling it, but for me, it's interesting. I find it interesting that Universal decides, oh, we'll release Jaws this year for its 50th. We'll release Back to the Future for its 40th. We'll release The Grinch for its 25th. But no Kong. Why?
Yeah.
Good question.
Why? I have probably reasons why, but we'll get to that down the line when we talk about this.
Yeah, and I have just realized that Peter Jackson's Kong was released in theaters to this day today, 20 years ago of today.
It was publicly released December 14th, but it actually had its New York premiere today. That was in Times Square, and they had Weta had built this full-size styrofoam mock-up model of Kong like in Times Square, and I think the mayor gave Peter the key to the city. They declared a King Kong Day on this day, and apparently after the movie came out, they actually took that model over to the back lot at Universal Hollywood, and then it just was left there. It just deteriorated over time.
Oh wow.
This is completely off topic, but I love how in your background, Jack, the perspective makes it look like that Christmas tree is in the place of the shark for Jaws.
Actually, that's really cool. I mean, my girlfriend got me that Spider-Man Christmas tree thing. It was cool. So I actually didn't notice that. Like, that's hilarious. It's Santa Jaws.
Yep. Santa Jaws. I like that.
Coming from the asylum.
That's actually a movie.
Already. Yeah.
That's actually a movie. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
I'm not surprised. But anyway, I just had to say it.
Yeah, and I just loved it. So looking forward to talk about this film. I mean, I did my best of doing lots of research for this film. Like, we can even talk about how we know about this film, how we first discovered it, the behind the scenes, and the original idea for this film that's basically from 1996, which you did a video about it.
I've done a few videos on the infamous 96 production. I guess I could start obviously with where also my girlfriend's in the chat. Hi. So my story with Jackson's Kong, it actually started where I had I was coming fresh off Lord of the Rings. I became an immediate fan of Peter Jackson's work, wondering what he's going to do next. And I remember reading in a magazine, which I still have somewhere. It was a Star Wars magazine. On the back of it showed all the movies coming out in 2025, including Fantastic Four and Batman Begins, which at the time was actually called Batman 5. They still didn't have like a title for it.
Wow.
It was still the 5th Batman after Schumacher. But when it said King Kong, I'm like, wait, they're doing another King Kong? Okay. Then I see it's Peter Jackson, and I'm reading that, yes, he will include the T-Rex fight. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's interesting. And then I saw the trailer, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. So I saw it with my dad on opening weekend. Loved the movie. Watched the original prior. A lot of people were watching the original, surprisingly, like prior to the release of this and getting into it. And then the extended cut came out, and I loved it even more. But then I saw the 96 documentary on the top of the first chapter of the big 2.5-hour documentary. And all I was thinking was, this could have been a better movie. For the longest time, like JJ said, the 96 production, and that's where it started, basically, was it was after Jackson had done The Frighteners for Universal. He was producing it with Robert Zemeckis, and he got a call from one of the people at Universal saying, hey, they like what they're seeing with The Frighteners. There's a couple other movies they want to do as remakes. They were thinking Creature from the Black Lagoon, which Peter Jackson's Creature from the Black Lagoon, which sounds amazing. But then
I wish they would have done Creature from the Black Lagoon remake.
Well, we did with Shape of Water. That's probably going to be the closest we get to a remake of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Unless James Wan pulls through.
Yeah, but more like, well, anyway, so Jackson had decided to do Kong. Zemeckis was going to produce it. He had gotten pretty far. There's 2 drafts out there which I watched, or which I've read, and they're both pretty much the same, with minor differences. It's a much different story. It's not just a remake of the original. It's more like The Mummy or Indiana Jones, very campy adventure. And they got as far as doing like casting. Like they had rumored they wanted, for the 3 leads, they wanted for Jack Driscoll, they wanted either George Clooney or Bruce Campbell. For Carl Denham, they either wanted Robert De Niro or Gary Oldman. And then for Anne, they wanted Kate Winslet because Jackson had just worked with her on Heavenly Creatures, and had she had done Kong, she wouldn't have done Titanic. So they got pretty far, and then in '97, Universal pulled the plug because Disney was doing Mighty Joe Young as a remake with the Bill Paxton, Charlize Theron, and then Roland Emmerich was doing Godzilla, and they felt cold feet from the big monster movie craze that was going to happen because they were probably hoping for like a '98 release. With Kong, but obviously they pulled the plug. Everybody was extremely upset, and then they were like, let's go make Lord of the Rings instead. And then after, and it was also a matter of they never had faith in Jackson to begin with because he was only known for making splatter movies. You know, if you ever seen Brain Dead, that's like my favorite zombie movie. That thing's like an acid trip. And
doesn't that have a Skull Island reference in it?
Yeah, because the Sumatran rat monkey is what causes the virus infection, and it came from Skull Island. So what you're saying is there's a whole Skull Island where every creature is a zombie. Yes.
Wow.
Kong. So what they end up making Lord of the Rings, but it's also a matter of like the Frighteners did not do well. So Jackson was kind of a liability for them. They thought he can't handle something this big. So they pulled the plug, and then they made Lord of the Rings. He won Oscars, and then they're like, we're sorry. We're sorry. And as a Jackson said, all right, it's going to be $250 million, and then you're going to have to pay me an extra $200 million for my salary. And that's just for canning 96. So,
wow.
Yeah, they called it Jackson's Revenge.
Ye of little faith is what these studio heads are. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you explained to us, Jack, about the earliest draft for the 96 version of Kong, I mean, that would be more interesting. Yeah, I mean, 1996, that is my birth year.
It was very much an Indiana Jones inspired film. The characters had changed. Ann Darrow is now a British archaeologist. Jack Driscoll is actually a veteran of World War I. He was a fighter pilot, so they based it a little bit on Marion C. Cooper's adventures. He had a friend who died, and the opening scene opened with like this dogfight between World War I pilots and the Red Baron. And Jack Driscoll's friend dies, and he swears he's never going to fly again. And one of the story arcs is that Jack would find redemption in finding a way to fly again. And at the end of the film, while the planes are going to get Kong, he would actually hijack an older airplane from like a movie premiere in New York. And he would steal the plane, fly off, and go to the Empire State Building. And he would actually try to block the airplanes from shooting Kong. So it would be a mix of like the iconic Empire State Building scene mixed with like a dogfight where he would be like trying to like intercept and then the planes would actually shoot him down. They would actually immediately start shooting at him. And actually at one point there's a line in the script where they see Anne on the building and everything, and instead of like having some humanity, they say, the girl, she's going down with the ape. They literally said, "Screw her, she's going down with him." So they didn't care. But the script is fascinating. Actually, it's just a much more flashy remake, essentially.
Well, quick question. I mean, I know this is a little off topic. I'm kind of like Omni, it's a little off topic. But the opening of King Skull Island, is that the reason why we see this dog fight at the beginning of that film? Why maybe that was inspired by something like this?
Can tell there's a lot of
Yeah, I was.
Vaughn Roberts is a huge. It took a lot of inspiration from many Kong movies, which I actually respect him for. I swear they took a little bit from my end, because I look at some of the character costume colors and I'm like, those look like my characters. Warner Brothers, are you watching me?
Yeah, I was gonna say what Walter just said. I mean, what you explained about how this remake in the beginning about this dogfight of two guys. I mean, that kind of almost sounds similar to the beginning of Skull Island.
Yeah, and then that one we don't really see the dogfight; we just see them crash land on the island.
Yeah.
But I think it was a little nod to that script, because remember too, Kong Skull Island was originally set to be a sequel to Jackson's Kong. Jackson had hired was it Adam? No, it was actually Adam Wingard. He had hired early on to do a sequel to his movie, and then it evolved into Kong Skull Island, and then Jordan Vogt Roberts took over, and then Adam ended up doing Godzilla vs. Kong, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought Kong Skull Island, I thought that was gonna be a sequel to Jackson's Kong film.
Yeah,
But-
very early on, in very early stages it was. But I mean, and not to be confused with the infamous April Fool's prank that they pulled on kongisking.net. I don't know if you guys ever remember that website.
Oh yeah, the
production
one or two sequel that was gonna happen, but it never did.
Well,
Yeah.
it-
But
it's
we
like-
we will get to that later. I mean,
And to be clear, this version was or was not connected to the King Kong that was supposedly going to spin off from Deep Rising.
I don't know. 96 was never intended to be a follow-up to Deep Rising. In fact, Deep Rising, I think, came out around the same time. And
It came out in 98, actually.
Yeah, well, if anything, too, what's interesting is that in the documentary, when Jackson and them were describing the script, they said it was very similar to Stephen Sommers' The Mummy, and even Christian Rivers said in an interview, he said, when I saw The Mummy, I said, did they just take the King Kong script and just, replace everything with mummies? Because it was almost that similar. So The Mummy, Stephen Sommers' The Mummy is pretty much what we almost got with Kong. And literally down to, you could basically say they might have taken that Kong script and said, throw some of this in here, Stephen Sommers. We want to use this up. This is good material. Just replace the giant monkey with a mummy.
yeah, and it was like, when I watched one of your videos about it, it's like I was like, that kind of sounds similar, like from The Mummy. It was they took some of that script parts and it just put it in The Mummy, like.
There's a lot of it. I mean, I did 2 videos. I did the 96 review, and then I actually did a fan trailer, like a what if fan trailer, if they made it in 96, using footage from other films to kind of simulate what movie would have looked like. So for all the George Clooney, Jack Driscoll stuff, I used stuff from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I used stuff from The Untouchables with Robert De Niro, and then with Kate Winslet, I used a lot from, I think, Sense and Sensibility to just illustrate certain scenes. But a lot of stuff I also used was from The Mummy. I tried to kind of splice that in there as well. So the point of that fan trailer was to try to recreate sort of the 90s trailer. So I was using tracks you'd hear in everything. So tracks from Backdraft, Drop Zone, that track from Drop Zone that was in everything that sounds like the Pirates of the Caribbean theme. And at the end, I, of course, used the music to Dragonheart, because that was also everywhere at the time. In every trailer. So I was just trying to make that generic adventure, universal adventure trailer of the 90s.
But you know what? I'm just amazed by all this. I mean, I know that there's a lot of information of unmade or some scripts that were going to be turned into films. But when you hear these kind of anecdotes and everything, I'm just kind of like, my goodness. I mean, there must be so many layers of stuff that's out there. And this particular film right here is like that gargantuan, not to say that's kind of making that sound big, but I mean, there's so much information that I'm wondering how they mean, how is it that it stayed so hidden for so long? It's my question.
It's just, secrets revealed, things come out. The advent of the internet has definitely helped.
Yeah.
To think that with Universal, even before Jackson got on in 96, like from 1975 to 2005, it took them 30 years for Universal to get a remake, because even back in 75, they were attempting a remake to counter De Laurentiis' remake, and they had a couple of drafts written by the great Bull Goldman of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. They had Joseph Sargent on to direct it, and then, but the thing was, it was because they had a verbal contract with RKO where Paramount had the written one up, and there was a huge court deal with it. It's why the rights to King Kong have been in such a clustered limbo.
And that's why the Dino De Laurentiis bought the rights to Kong from Paramount, and they decided to do his own remake. And that's why we got the 1976.
The courts ultimately decided is De Laurentiis and Paramount had the contract where they could do their remake, but then after 2 years of it out, then Universal would actually be handed the rights to them. The rights would go to them like 2 years after the remake. But they just sat on it for a couple of years. Instead of making a movie, they said, let's build theme park rides. And then we got the rides at Universal Hollywood in Florida. That's how that came about. And actually, at one point, they were attempting to do a remake in the 90s with John Landis involved. And one of the ways they were actually going to cut corners in the budget was to utilize the animatronics from the rides as full-size pieces, and they would just build sets around them. That was a very cost-effective measure. That ended up not happening. Then it got turned over to Jackson, although one other candidate was actually Steven Spielberg. But Spielberg was making at the time his own movie with dinosaurs on an island. We know where that came about.
Yeah, and I
history with Universal and Kong for like 30 years.
I was gonna say that no wonder that Spielberg, like, he was interested in I can't remember the name of the guy who did the animatronic for King Kong at the ride, but he was going to hire him to do the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park.
Bob Gurr, I've actually met Bob Gurr. I did an interview with him. He actually goes as far back. He worked with Walt Disney. He built Disneyland, which is like insane. Like, he built Disneyland.
I'm sorry, but when you said John Landis involved with a King Kong, I'm like, I'm sorry, that's you taking me out of the news right there. I'm just like, no. I'm like, John Landis, you're a good director, but not. I'm sorry.
He's a huge King Kong fan.
Is he? But I mean, I just can't see it. I mean maybe he could have done it, but I mean, still,
I mean, he directed a monster movie of the American Werewolf of London, and
but I don't know. Maybe I'm being too critical on that level, but it just seems like I do not know.
And well, Jack, that is like a big interesting story that you shared with us about the original script from 1996, which is my birth year, and my God, I'm gonna be 30 in 2 months.
Happy birthday! Like, listen, I'm 33. I'm the same age Harrison Ford was when he made Star Wars, so I'm not a Han Solo type.
Oh, you're that? Okay, I'm thinking you're younger than that.
Oh, I get that a lot.
Wow. Okay.
Like, what do you think of her, Han? I'm trying not to, kid. I don't know. You think a princess and a guy like me? No.
So, what was that line you did? Yeah,
that was from Star Wars. That was after they fought the TIE Fighters.
Before it became the New Hope.
What does he say to Princess Leia? It's not over yet. It is for me, sister. Look, I ain't in this for revolution, okay? I expect to be well paid. I'm in it for the money.
Yeah. Why you stuck up halfway to scruffy looking nerve herder?
Who's scruffy looking?
Yeah.
Off topic quickly. Actually, I don't know if you guys heard. Lucasfilm actually made an announcement that, if you guys are aware, they're going to be re-releasing the original A New Hope in 2027 for its 50th anniversary.
Yes.
But they finally confirmed it will be the unaltered original theatrical version of Star Wars for its 50th anniversary. They are currently restoring it for this in a 4K preservation. Look. It will also be featured in IMAX.
Wow, the original edition, not the whole special
edition. There is no Greedo shot first No crappy CG Jabba. No McClanky. None of that. It is the preserved version, and if this does well, we could probably count on Empire and Jedi as well.
Look, this is an example of I'm like preserve the actual art that was done that time, because I myself, I'm just like I say, I'm gonna just add this real quick before we get back on Kingkong. I saw that original cut back in '77 with my family, and it's like, okay, that's a total game changer for me, knowing that you've seen something like that on the big screen with the Death Star going across. And look, that to me, when I heard about that news, it's like, thank you. This is going to be such a revelation, because I'm like, I want to see that 50 years later. And it's like, well, this is exactly how I saw it in the theater, not with this special edition kind of.
Well, the despecialized guys are going to be put out of business at this point. I would be surprised if they're contacting them to help out with the restoration.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, back to Kong.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I was saying like, yeah, that was like an interesting story you shared with us, Jack, about the original script from '96 and all that. I mean, I've done my best doing the research about that. It was like that would have been a better script idea for the original idea before Jackson's 25 version of it.
I mean, I will say about the final product is that I had at the time I was going on and on about '96. I did kind of bash his remake a lot because of that. Everybody said, "What do you think of Jackson's remake?" And I always said the same thing: not as good as the first draft, and I meant that really literally. But I mean, I just watched it again recently for the 20th anniversary, and I watched the extended edition, and I've over time grown to appreciate it again, appreciate it a lot more. Especially after giving it, I felt like I just bashed it way too much. And I've grown to appreciate it because I realized what this movie is. It's the original King Kong, but Jackson said, I'm going to do the original movie, but I'm going to give it the scale and budget of Titanic. This movie feels very Titanic.
Yeah.
This is the Titanic of kaiju films. Down to the same look, the same story, the same kind of love story on a boat, except there's no iceberg. And just imagine, just take Titanic, and instead of iceberg right ahead, it's Skull Island right ahead. And I realized that it's just Titanic just with a giant monkey. That's all it is. And you look at it and you realize that you're like, yeah, it kind of is. That's what Jackson's probably biggest inspiration was, to say, let's just do Titanic. Down to even the budget. The budget was practically the same. This was at the time one of the most expensive movies, namely because of Jackson's salary. Well, it was $250 million to make. It was another $200 million for his salary, and then another $50 million for its promotion. So you rounded it all up. That's about $500 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we will talk about more about the boat scene and the other scenes later on, but I was going to bring up at the beginning of the film, but of this episode, since you already shared the story about the '96 draft, and let's talk about how we first discover this blockbuster kaiju hit by Lord of the Rings guy himself. I mean, when do we saw this in theaters? I will go first. I remember that I think it was like a year or two before. I mean, I was getting into King Kong. I mean, after I bought the VHS copy of it, that VHS that was from the 80s. I mean, the one that the picture quality is so bad and it's just so blurry. Yeah, I mean,
that was technology back. That was 80s technology back then. So it's like that was state of the art back then to compare to what DVDs would be then later.
I mean, I have the Betamax of that actually.
Oh
yeah, I just discovered that film after I discovered my very first Kong film I ever watched, 1976, and and I guess honestly, the original it's really got me into the Kong fan community, and I just kind of I'm starting to watch the original more and more, and then later I'm starting to go want to watch the 76. Yeah, this is what really got me into Kong more. And after that, I discovered the VHS copy of my other old local video store is King Kong Lives, and I watched that. And yeah, I'm just really got into Kong. The same time I got into Godzilla more. And
just those little nuggets led you to something even bigger, as the saying goes.
And I remember that I think that one time that my mom just told me the big surprise that they're announced that there's gonna be a new King Kong film and this Christmas. I was so surprised to hear that. And she even showed me the trailer on the internet. I think this was before YouTube was discovered. I mean, she showed me
to download it off QuickTime.
Yeah, she showed me the trailer on the internet, and I saw when I watched it, my jaw just dropped. I was like, "Wow!" I'm just got really excited, and then a few months I moved down to Georgia where I used to live. That I lived there for like 8 years, and yes, and. But I remember when I went to the Georgia Mall. I mean, with my mom and my sister, and how many of you remember KB Toys?
Honestly, I've been living in Canada, so I don't think we have KB Toys.
Oh yeah, KB Toys. I know what you're talking about. It's
yeah.
It's kind of left my brain a little bit. I mean, I've heard it, but it's like I don't really remember it. To be honest with you.
Yeah, those are the kind of toy stores that used to be around in malls back then, but they're just not around anymore. It's out of business because we have shopping online. But anyway, I remember when I went to KB Toys, one of my favorite ones, one of my favorite childhood stores, and I remember they started to sell King Kong action figures and merchandise of the film. I even had it. That's why I actually bought my very first King Kong action figure from the film.
Yeah,
I still have it, but it's packed away somewhere.
Okay.
And
I can go grab them and pull them up actually. So
yeah, it is the one that it has his mouth closed and you just move around a little bit and has a little tiny Anne figure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just kind of like these toys, and I remember the video game of it, which we will talk about a little later. Yeah, so that's really got me excited to see the movie that. And I remember when I went up to Illinois to see my family for Christmas. I remember I think a few days after Christmas that I think my mom and my aunts took me to the local movie theater to see the Peter Jackson Kong film. And I remember when I was sitting in the theater, I didn't know that this was going to be a 3-hour long film. Yeah,
I mean,
that's the one thing. It's like, it's long. What do you expect? I think at that point we all realized, oh, this is just how Peter Jackson does movies. He makes long movies now. Ever since Lord of the Rings, he's like, I'm gonna make everything 3 hours long.
And if you hadn't learned by that point not to get a lemonade before sitting down to watch it, then you only have yourself to blame.
So true.
Stuff. You guys keep talking.
Yeah, you good.
Yeah, and I remember, I think during that time, I mean, even before the theaters, I mean, I have got such a headache have such a headache during that time. I try my best not to turn on any TVs or anywhere when I was spending the week at my grandma's. I mean, because I don't want to get a headache during the film, which I end up having a headache when I was watching the film, but it didn't bother me anyway. I mean, I just sit back and just watch the film. Yeah, and that film really was interesting to me, and I just love how Kong looks in it, and the story plot, and then how the natives were so violently in this one than the original.
They were creepy.
And
yes.
I also laughed so hard when Kong laughs, when Anne was entertaining him. Like, yeah, it was like,
that's just Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis, performing the Kong expressions, and everything. And I mean, he did Gollum with Lord of the Rings, so it's like Peter Jackson just got him for this, and it's like he did a spot on job. It was said too that Andy was, his performance was so good in Lord of the Rings, or even in this, they said he should have got nominated for a special award for his performance in doing those particular roles. Although, the Academy is biased, to say the least, and it's funny how those kind of awards should really be brought up when people have extraordinary performances should be honored with those. But unfortunately, we already know the Academy it's kind of like what Jack was bringing up. Politics comes into play with these things, and it's sad how that plays on that.
Which we'll talk about more about Andy Serkis, about Kong later. I mean, and also this is like my first film that I ever first discovered Jack Black.
Jack Black is a very interesting entity. I'll put it like that.
I think the one thing I remember, I mean, that unfortunately it didn't add to the Blu-ray or DVD edition of the film. I mean, they didn't add this in the Blu-ray or DVD, but I remember when I saw this in theaters. I mean, before they showed the opening of the Universal logo, I mean, they just opened with the RKO new opening thing. I mean, it's kind of like for the original Kong.
Right.
Yeah, I think they only added in the theater, but I just don't remember. I just had the memory. I just remember of.
Well, I never see the extended cut of King Kong. I haven't seen it.
I have.
Okay, but I did see it in the theater when we opened December 14th, and I can remember it very well because even 20 years later, I remember it being rainy. It was soaking wet, and I had car problems trying to get to the theater just to go see this film. Even though I knew it was 3 hours long, I was like, "Oh my goodness, come on now! This is gonna. I don't want to be late to see the showing of this, But when I got to the theater and kind of drive myself off, I realized it was all worth it because this film, it is a definite love letter to the old King Kong and previous films of that time, because it's set in 33, which is what the original Kong is set in, or what came out. And you realize when you watch it, even though Peter Jackson, true enough, he's an artiste, he's going to make his films long. He's going to make his voice, just expand and everything. He was doing a job of making sure that you feel the environment of what you're watching. Like you're watching this taking place in 33 New York, and you see all the things that's going on, whether it be crime, whether it be, people on welfare or, in the streets, it's you get that feel, you get that lived in feel when you watch it, and you think like, this is a Kong film, it's like, this is what we're looking at, but he's doing more with the characters than you would think at least with the human characters interaction, and then you realize it's going to lead up to something more grander as it goes along.
What? Yeah, that's an interesting memory you shared with us, Walter. And so I already share my memory. You already share your memory about it. And let's get to Jack, how do you first discover this film, and how did you saw it in theaters?
Well, first of all, I had to grab a couple things because I wanted to show these off since we're talking about this movie. But the first time I ever heard about this remake happening was actually in this particular magazine, Movie Magic. And this is when the first DVD editions of Star Wars came out. Revenge of the Sith was there, all this preview for the third one. There was all this stuff. But I remember the back page. This is where I first discovered it. And it was right here is this big splash page with all these different like sneak peeks of the movie.
Yes.
And right there is King Kong, 2005. That was the first sign I saw. Wait, they're doing this, and I read this whole thing, and I was like, okay, we're in safe hands here. So that was the first time I heard about it, and I remember. I remember seeing the original King Kong when I was a kid. My uncle has shown me the original on VHS with Jaws as well. And I like Kong. I did the ride at Universal. It was all fun. But then hearing about this remake, I'm like, okay, cool. And I did start to get back into – I got into Kong a lot more when this came out. I rented the original on VHS again from one of my local video stores that still sold VHSs back then. And watched it, loved the original, kind of got a little obsessed. And then the movie came out, and I saw it with my dad. And it was a really good time. I didn't know what to expect with it, but it did end up really – I remember being very entertained by it. And then I did get the DVD. I got the 2-disc like collector's edition that had like the post-production diaries. It was the first time I heard about the production diaries, which were really fun. But I mainly remember getting for Christmas in 2006, again, the extended edition. And I wanted to show this off because this one, it's kind of faded. You can't really see, but it's actually autographed by Naomi Watts. I actually met her at the Toronto International Film Festival when she had the premiere of The Impossible, directed by J.A. Bayona, and also starring her, Ewan McGregor, and an unknown at the time, Tom Holland. So met all three of them, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was a great movie, but she signed that for me, so I got that autograph. But I love this DVD. Like, this is one of the best DVDs I own. But if you want the ultimate version of the Jackson remake, you have to get the I'd recommend the Ultimate Edition on Blu-ray because it has all the previous bonus features all packed in this one set, and it comes with both cuts of the film. This is one of the best Blu-rays I own, honestly. Like, this has everything you want in a Blu-ray.
I only have this edition Blu-ray, and with the extended cut.
Yeah, the Ultimate Edition has all the bonus features on here, and this has like everything. So this is like the best version to get out there. I don't know about the steel books or anything, but that's.
Did King Kong die behind you?
No.
I just know.
I found this at a.
I didn't know that.
It's a plushie from the movie. It actually is like one of the plushies they sold.
Oh my god!
One of those merchandise.
I did not see that.
Me neither. I was like,
it's so cute. It's so adorable. I actually have been slowly collecting merchandise from it. I have some of the toys you brought up, by the way. I have this one, which is a figure where you can rip the T-Rex's jaw.
oh,
And so you get the V-Rex with it. I keep forgetting the camera's over here. But you get these figures. The toys were made. I think it was Playmates who made these. I think it was, Playmates made these toys. And then I just picked up this one recently. The crazy thing is these toys now fetch a price now. Like, they were apparently very rare on the market. And then I picked this guy up recently, and I don't even think
I used to have him.
Yeah, that like $2. So, but then things like, the one thing I can't remember who got this for me at G-Fest one year, but I was just handed this, which is part of the Weta Collectibles line, and it's the skull of the Venatosaur, which is the raptor. These were part of a very rare set of what was called the Weta Collectibles line, where they made these amazing sculptures. If you went to any comic book store back then, they had these amazing sculptures by Weta, and one of them that everybody wants is the this big giant statue of Kong fighting the T-Rex, and it fetches a good like $7,000 on the market. I'm like, oh my god, this is a huge statue though. Like, this is massive. But there was a ton of merchandise for the movie when it came out. So, I do remember the trailer too, because I remember mainly the music. I think they used the song "Dethroned" by X-Ray Dog, which X-Ray Dog was like a dominant force in trailers back then. They made trailers for music for everything back in the day.
Yeah, and those figures it showed. I mean, I did have that crocodilian look figure I used to have, and I used to have the V-Rex, but not that one. But
I think I have the one you're talking about. This one's just like the juvenile, I believe.
Yeah, I remember I used to have the play set of Skull Island.
Yeah, I like that. I like that playset. That thing's cool.
Yeah, I used to have that playset. I actually got that from Christmas when the film came out. Yep, that's Santa
price nowadays.
I wish I still have that. I mean, I know
I don't think the toys sold well at the time, so that's why they're kind of like extremely pricey and rare nowadays on the market, because they just didn't sell well. I think actually the video game sold well, mainly. And that's because I think one of the reasons why the game did so well, it did well on the 360, and that's because it was a launch title. Because the 360 launched that Christmas, and that was one of the hot toys of that year. What's weird is like Christmas 2005, great year, because it was not just for buying like holiday stuff for your kids. Like there's movies out, because this movie, remember, was also in competition with Narnia at the time, the Chronicles of Narnia.
God, yes.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which still holds up, by the way.
And we will, I think, wish we'll get to the video game details and all that like later on, like maybe towards the end of the video, and also along with the ride. And but I would like to talk about the game too.
Yeah, so it was one of the launch titles for the 360, and it did amazing numbers at the time. I remember I used to actually play it on the display case at Best Buy back in the day. That was always fun. But yeah, Best Buy made money back then. It was like the Roboraptor, the portable DVD players were just coming in, the Xbox 360 launched. It was just crazy year for technology that time. I think iPod had just been launched as well.
Yeah, and Jack, I think we are talking about my story, Walter's, and yours. First discovered this. Let's get to Omni Viewer. Omni Viewer, how did you first discover this film? Did you saw it in theaters? I mean, did you hear about it?
Yeah, I don't necessarily recall exactly how I first heard it was happening. I think it was just the Lord of the Rings trilogy finished, and then the word started around that Peter Jackson's going to do King Kong next. So from there, I was just keeping my eye on it. Yeah, and I did get to see it in theaters. I think we saw it actually on Christmas. We might have.
Okay.
Like after the morning routine, you open the presents, you have breakfast and everything. We made it an evening event, I believe, which was a good way to spend Christmas, certainly.
Yeah.
But, I've got the extended cut as well. I got the World of Kong book that
nice.
I love the way they did this. It's the concept art for the movie, but they did it like it's a scientific journal chronicling a real Skull Island and all the life forms on there. I had a making of book. I don't have that with me at the moment, but it's somewhere. Yeah, it's pretty interesting that for a while King Kong really was everywhere for a little bit. And I do remember around that same time, one of the kids I was doing theater with in high school was absolutely obsessed with this movie. I never quite got a chance to ask why, because other than the doing theater, I didn't really see him all that much outside of that. But he was all about this movie. I think even more so than I was at the time. Which is weird to me because I'm the kaiju guy. So,
did he chronically quote the movie?
I'm sure he must have, but he was like every spare minute I could hear him talking about how about like his favorite scenes or the behind the scenes stuff he had seen about it. And I'd been with him, acting with him in a couple plays before, so I know there was more to him than that. But once King Kong came along, man, he was all about that movie.
Wow, and that's that's a really interesting story you shared, Amin. And I merely just realized why you were explaining how you first discovered it. I mean, I just remembered on Christmas Eve. I mean, I know that Peter Jackson's Kong was done by Universal, and I remember on Christmas Eve that what I got from my family, they gave me some DVD movies of the original Kong films, like the triple DVD packet of the original Kong, Son of Kong, and Mighty Joe Young. I mean,
Box set.
yeah, which I now have those films on Blu-ray, and I remember I did have the double DVD package of King Kong versus Godzilla and King Kong Escapes, which is owned by Universal. That the one film with Linda Miller is in it, which I did a podcast episode with her like a few years ago.
Great, she's fantastic, Linda.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the one part I forgot to mention how I first discovered it.
That's actually interesting because like the home video releases at the time, like every Kong movie by that point got a DVD release. The poster here was when Paramount put their second edition on DVD of 76, because the original version they had actually put out 76 and 99 on DVD, and it was a bare bones thing. I think it was about the same disc. But then after 9/11, they actually pulled that DVD off shelves. They actually kind of scrubbed that movie for a bit. But then when the remake came out, they redesigned it and they put it out. And then what's weird is King Kong Lives actually got a DVD release, but it wasn't under Paramount, it was under Fox. And that's actually a very rare DVD to come by, is King Kong Lives, the original 2005 DVD. I think that's the Blu-ray that just came out by I can't remember which company.
Is Beyond Genius, or is it Umbrella Company? I don't remember.
I think did that release. But everything, I'm talking all the original movies, even King Kong Escapes actually got its first North American home video release through the hype of Peter Jackson. Universal had never released it on home video before. You had things like even the King Kong show, the the Toei cartoon got a release. You had
I never seen that show.
It's even the ripoffs. All the ripoffs got releases. I think Queen Kong got its major with the release of Jackson's remake. 8, Mighty Peking Man.
I was about to ask you, 8. Did 8 get a release? I was like,
got a re-release on DVD. It got DVD released at the time. Practically everything at that point finally saw a home video release when Jackson came out. Everybody was capitalizing on this movie.
Yeah,
it was. One person actually did describe it as it was 1976 all over again, because it was just everybody was hyping this movie. Everybody was capitalizing on it. It was the vibe that Universal wished they had in the 70s, but it finally caught up to them 30 years later.
So. Yeah, I mean, it has been crazy that year, 2005. I mean, and I see King Kong stuff everywhere when the film came out. I mean, I was really gotten into King Kong, and yeah, I mean, 2005. It was a good year for me around Christmas. That was 2005. It was just a good Christmas year for me.
It was. I remember that one too. Yeah. So it was just the movie did what it needed to do. It needed to be a major holiday release, and I can't remember. I think that what's crazy is that it's funny because I actually went a couple years ago. I was at Toronto Comic-Con. Andy Serkis was there, and he actually talked about King Kong for a bit. Apparently, something I didn't know is that they had done the final effect shots almost 48 hours before they were supposed to deliver it to the New York premiere. And that never happened before for Jackson. Prior Lord of the Rings, the final shot made it 2 weeks before. but like days before he was pushing the thing. And the thing is with the movie is that I think it did overall make its money back, but not making the $1 billion numbers that Universal was hoping for. And ultimately, I think what happened was that was you ever notice that after Kong came out, nobody really worked with Jackson for a bit until The Hobbit, and I think it's because he became kind of a liability for how expensive his movies were getting. So he was a financial liability for studios because he just loves to push the envelope. And they were hoping for Cameron Titanic money, and they got like they just barely broke even.
Yeah. What you brought up, I mean, which reminds me, Peter Jackson, after he done King Kong, he was planning to do like 1 or 2 sequels of this film, which it was kind of a lie that he put on the internet that he posted on April Fool's Day, that old website he used to have.
Yeah, it was Kong is King. Actually, Kong is King is still active as far as I know. Let me actually check if it's still. I think it's still active. I mean, it hasn't had any updates since like 2006. But let me check if it's still there, because I think they just left the site there, I believe. Let me see here.
I will say this, considering that this movie, did make his money back. It did break financially as far as, making what the budget was and all that stuff. I can say this, and this might kind of hurt some people's heartstrings, but it did do better than 98's Godzilla in certain places. I'm just saying. I mean, and as much as I love Godzilla, everything, Kong was more, triumphant in this area.
Everybody knows 98 doesn't count.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, Peter Jackson's Kong was released the year after the third Lord of the Rings film and Godzilla Final Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did hear some rumors that Peter Jackson was going to make 1 or 2 sequels to this film, which has never happened. I mean, after I saw this film in theaters, I was hoping if this is gonna make a sequel like Son of Kong, kind of like of my box, my DVD box set of the triple package, and along with like Mighty Joe Young, but Mighty Joe Young is already made by Disney. I mean, what? Yeah, it's just never happened. I mean, it was gonna be called Son of Kong, and the third is gonna be called King Kong Enter. Is it Enter the Wolf Slayer or
Into the Wolf Slayer?
I was like, is it gonna be like 1 or 2 sequels?
I think they were planning to make 2 movies, and one of the funniest things about the April Fool's joke is that they were saying they were going to use the leftover budget from a Chronicles of Riddick sequel they were planning. Also, a bit of sad news, actually. This is actually kind of interesting. Kong is King is no more. The website no longer exists. It's funny because when I was doing one of my videos about 2 years ago, the site was still active, but no more. It's gone. The website is
wow.
They have never said when they stopped launching it, but my guess is, nobody had been using that website for a while. They said, "Oh, screw it, throw it out." So it's gone. It's officially gone as of now.
Well, we have new sites like Winkyzilla, Toho Kingdom, and all.
Yeah,
especially Winkyzilla. I mean, you could find some research about that film on Winkyzilla.
Oh yeah, Winkyzilla is a very informational site. I love it.
Yeah, I love that site. I think that site is more interesting than Toho Kingdom.
Yeah, oh my goodness! Now you bring that up. I'm not trying to get off stuff, but Toho's Kingdom was my go-to when it came to talking about kaiju, at least with Godzilla and everything. But after a while, it started getting stale and not really generating the stuff that you really want to see. Now, when Zilla come around, I was like, I love this. This is giving me more information than I ever thought to. I'm like, why isn't that when you don't have necessarily the means? Why can't you just or I should say, you have the means, but you don't put in stock to make this so robust that other people would want to come and visit it. I mean, I don't get that, and I don't know. Maybe you have to be a true kaiju or monster fan to appreciate these kind of things. And I guess Toho Kingdom, I guess they like, well, I mean, you know who Godzilla is, and that's all we're going to give you. That's about the size of it. But
yeah, so let's get back to the sequels, which has never happened, about Son of Kong into the in the Wolf's Lair. I mean, I'm just confused of these sequels. I
did a video on it a while ago.
Yeah.
And what it was is that the plot of it was going to be taking place right in the middle of the Second World War, and that the U.S. government actually wanted Carl Denham to go back to Skull Island to pretty much claim it under American lands before the Nazis found it. Because I think they were kind of playing on like Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade, where it's like, Dr. Jones, must find the Ark before the Nazis do. And so they were kind of telling Carl, you're the only one who knows where this is. But I think Carl was even trying to tell them, the island's gone, guys. It sank a while ago. Because because that was one of the reasons why he wanted to go to the island on the first one, was it was about to go down and be non-existent like Atlantis. He wanted to capture it on film before it went under. So I think they eventually do go back, but it's a lot like smaller and condensed, and that that is where they meet the Son of Kong, and Anne was going to come with them, even though she had massive PTSD, and pretty much as a tone to Kong's death, she was going to raise this albino gorilla who was kind of Kong's son, just as a favor to him in a way. So
yeah. So Jack, when you explained that the islands already sank, I mean, yeah, that sounds similar to the original Son of Kong, and
it had a few elements here and there. It was just more of like, I think for Jackson's remake, it was never like intended for sequel purposes. I think they did actually make it part of the story. There actually is like deleted scenes where Jack Black's Denham was telling Jack Driscoll, you don't understand. This thing's going to hit the bottom of the ocean. It's going to be sinking soon. We have to go film this. Like, this is important to history. So that was like a major plot point as well. Yeah, there you go. The illustration there of it sinking.
Yeah.
There's even like, actually what's interesting, there's also like a little bit of lore added to that, because again, if you watch the deleted scenes that were never even in the extended edition, there was stuff like hinting at, because this was 1933, and one of the things they were hinting at with Captain Englehorn, played by the wonderful Thomas Ketcherman, who loves to play German guys all the time, like he was in the Marvel movies as well. The idea is that Englehorn was a German, and at the time, we know what happened in 1933 in Germany, and so there was a lot of tensions at the time. And one of the things Carl said is when they're turning around, he would look at Driscoll and he would sneak behind the boat. He's like, Englehorn's in on it. That stinking German, and like he was basically implementing that maybe Englehorn was a Nazi spy who was going to get to Skull Island and claim it for themselves, basically. It was hinted at without saying anything, essentially. And that was something that in the prank sequel, they were going to expand on, where basically I think the Nazis were already on Skull Island, and they were using the dinosaurs and creatures to create some sort of... They were going to take some of them back to Germany and create these mutated creatures that were going to like fight Kong, that were going to implement the whole master race thing and shit, like but it was going to be like these giant super soldiers that were just these horrific mutations that were going to eventually fight in the streets of Berlin.
I mean, I like the mutant creatures thing, but the mutant soldiers I think that's just too much.
I mean, like they were all the same. It was all about creating like super soldiers, but they were becoming these mutated monsters that the Son of Kong would have fought in. And I think one of the things they had was Into the Wolf's Lair was going to end with a retelling of the final battle of Berlin. But it was just going to have the Son of Kong, 2 machine guns on it. They were basically going to go all Dino Riders in the third one. If you remember Dino Riders, you know what I'm talking about.
I do know.
Mm-hmm. Those toys are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting plot, but the machine guns on Son of Kong soldiers is just.
It's
Well,
bit much. Yeah,
Too much.
stretching it. I mean, even
Yeah.
though this is fantasy, it's like that's kind of pushing.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
if you see the toys for the MonsterVerse stuff now with all the different gadgets they put on Kong or Godzilla, that's kind of what we probably almost would have gotten if they made those sequels.
Yeah, I
Do you
mean,
think it was maybe that's the thing. Do you think that could have been the reason why they didn't make, because it was too ahead of its time at that point?
To quote George Lucas when he was looking at some of the original designs for Anakin, I think it's too much. So.
yeah, I mean, I wish those sequels were happened, but I'm glad it didn't happen because I would be happy to stick with just one film Peter Jackson did. I mean,
it stands on its own, really.
Yeah.
Not everything needs a sequel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And because, King Kong is sort of like, I would say it is the fairy tale of cinema, because it's very much like a fairy tale. It's because most fairy tales are told in books. This is the first time a fairy tale was created for the screen. It was never made to be a book. So that's what makes
Although
it so
there is
special
one.
as a standalone piece. And why, unless it's part of the Godzilla series, I don't see Kong ever being franchise material at all. Even when they make sequels, they're never as good. Like even Son of Kong and King Kong Lives, while I like them, I see them as more what-if stories than actual sequels to those films.
yeah, I mean, those two sequels, I mean, they never happened. It only has Kong's son in it, but I like they didn't try to bring Kong back to life, kind of like they did in King Kong Lives. I mean, that'll be like
There is a novel called Kong Reborn that actually does the Jurassic Park Crichton story, where somebody had apparently collected DNA of Kong after he died, and then took like years and years to wait for genetic science to bring him back through genetic science. And that actually is a novel. I haven't read it yet, but I've been very curious to read it.
I started reading it a little bit ago. It's off to a good start anyway, although a large chunk of the beginning is actually about the legal battle of who owns the cloned Kong.
So they put the legal like rights to the films in the. Okay, you know what? If that's part of the plot, that's actually kind of clever. I kind of like that. That's actually feels like a nice little jab at the rights issues. Well, it's interesting now because like in a couple of years, the original film, while the novel is under public domain, the original film is going to be in public domain in a few years, actually.
And there will be a slasher version of King Kong as that happens.
How many remakes can now like be made, and we can see it from different perspectives. I mean, for me, I've got my version. I could technically now fully monetize that because I could say, well, it's based on the original in the novel. It's public domain. What are you going to do about it?
Well, we're going to get a slew of slasher movies. We know that much.
Okay, well, you could make it like just do the original, but just different. I would love to see. That's what I'm actually excited for. I would love to see different variant perspectives of the story told with different filmmakers and creative visions, and then plus it keeps me in the job because I can make reviews of it. So
that's a good point.
And you can put Popeye on the venture now.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, the one Andy Serkis played, what's his character's name in this?
And actually, that stems from the novel too, the original Lovelace novel. That character's been there since the beginning.
Yeah,
less of a prominent character. I mean, I remember when I saw the musical in New York, actually, surprisingly very good. That was based on the novel, and in the cast, I was like, oh, Andy Serkis is not getting nominated for an Oscar in this scene. Okay. So it was a good show, by the way. It's just there's a lot of that's eventually going to happen as well. It's going to be like I'm very curious how all these different filmmakers are going to make these movies. So it's interesting. I think a lot of people are waiting for that.
Yeah, yes. So yeah, like I was gonna say something that you brought up.
Oh, no worries.
Use the Force. You can bring it back.
Yes, the musicals.
Oh yeah, that Lumpy. It's like that Lumpy character Andy Serkis plays. I mean, he does have that squeaky eye. I mean, he kind of I kind of picture him as a big mustache Popeye.
Yes, we're gonna find Kung and Skull.
Yeah.
That's a good impression there, Jack.
I
Good impression.
think
So where's my spinach?
Popeye, I don't think those are muscles. Those are tumors in your arm. Also, you had a stroke like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
That Family Guy reference.
Yeah,
Oh
the
my
fact you're
goodness,
still
that's
alive
pretty
is
good.
impressively shocking.
Yes. So we already talked about everything. Let's talk about the film. I mean, but wait. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we go to the film, let's talk about the director himself, Peter Jackson. I mean, this is like the first film I ever. This is like one of his first film I ever watched. That's how I first discovered Peter Jackson. I mean, I know my dad is a huge Lord of the Rings type of guy, and he watched Lord of the Rings a lot, and I know that these films were like 3 or 4 hours long, and
Nearly.
yeah, I just
Especially
can't.
the directed extended cuts, they were definitely over 4 hours.
Yeah, I wish I can't stand of watching these Lord of the Rings. I mean, yeah, which this is why I'm not much of a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm sorry, Dad.
Hey, Dad, he still loves you, Dad.
Yeah, wish I had him on my last podcast episode I did with the Mummy. Remember that, Walter?
I do remember that. It was a very good podcast too.
I mean,
Yeah.
with David Jackson, it was always Lord of the Rings. I mean, you can tell I'm a fan because I've got Glamdra and the Foe hammer on me. So
Look,
Wow.
I've got a ton of swords from Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. Well, the thing is with me, like I was introduced obviously through Lord of the Rings, and for me it was a matter of like I knew we had a brand new, fresh director on our hands because, when I was a kid making movies and wanting to make movies, through Universal stuff, I was always a fan of Spielberg, big into George Lucas with Star Wars. Because what's interesting is that it was coming out around the time of the prequels were coming out, so there was like a new franchise to compete, and I was really into Star Wars. And then, seeing Lord of the Rings, while I wanted to make movies because of Star Wars, Lord of the Rings is what made me want to become a storyteller. And, what better way to become a storyteller than, with one of the greatest stories ever written next, it was the second most read book after the Bible. And so watching Lord of the Rings was like one of the probably top 5 movie experiences of my life. Return of the King, I think I saw probably 5 times because I just to see the charge of the Rohirrim in that was that's probably the greatest movie experience of my life was seeing that charge, and I knew it was okay, this shit's lit.
yeah,
And then he's doing King Kong, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be even better because I didn't know this guy. I knew this guy was probably into monster movies, but he's into this. I'm like, oh yeah, we're in for something fun when that comes out.
Yeah, I didn't know, and when I did my own research back then about the one of the Kong films, about when I look up Peter Jackson on Winky or anything, I didn't know he directed King Kong and the Lord of the Rings. I mean, that I do remember that when I did research, I know you probably brought up on one of your review videos that he's been a King Kong fan ever since he was a kid when he was 10 or 12, and when he started watching the original in his old hometown in New Zealand.
Yeah, he was 8 or 9 years old. He was already making movies Super 8 films with mainly World War II films with his friends. Then he saw Kong, and then he said, okay, well, the original plan after that was not to be a director. He wanted to be a special effects guy because he felt that was more ideal. And he started by making his own Kong remake on Super 8. He made his own puppet. And he got too ambitious. So he says, I can't do this with this kind of tech, so I'm just going to do something else.
Yeah, it was so cool that when I saw those on the internet. I mean, I didn't know Peter Jackson did those when he was a kid. I mean, he made a King Kong figure that is out of some metal things, and the fur came from his aunt's coat. Like
it was his mother's fur coat that I don't think he told her. I think he kind of stole the coat and cut it up, and that probably got him grounded for a bit. I think his I love the Skull Island set because it was just his mom gave him this big sheet and he just painted a backdrop of Skull Island and everything. And then I think the Empire State Building he built was made entirely out of cardboard. And you look at the model itself, you're like, that's cardboard? Like, I can't even make that out of cardboard. The kid was.
You meant the Empire State Building part?
Yeah, he made the whole dome.
Yeah, it was like.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, cardboard back in the 70s must have been like good quality stuff because the cardboard we have today, man, it doesn't match at all. I can't even make half that stuff out of that. So, apparently, what's cool is he actually only painted the front. He never painted the back because he had he didn't have enough. He had very short, so he only had a certain amount of silver paint, so it was in short supply. So he only painted the front. So, but yeah, he apparently did test shots which have never surfaced. But eventually, what he wanted in his head was never going to be what was on his mind. So he gave up, and then he actually made a movie called The Valley, which is very much a love letter to Harryhausen's Sinbad movies, and that actually got put in a film festival. That was one of the first major things he put into submissions for film festivals at the time.
Wow.
So, I have to actually pretty interesting work for Super 8 film back then.
Right. I have to say though, with Peter Jackson, because the first film I actually saw of his, or at least heard of, was Heavenly Creatures, and it would lead me to see The Frighteners. But the thing about it is, I had known that name, but he was attached to other, as we mentioned, splatter films at the time, like Bad Taste, and we mentioned something else, on his roster. And I'm just kind of like, then when I heard about him doing the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I was kind of like, this is just me. I was just kind of like, the guy who did all these splatter films is doing a very elegant, very in kind of mythical kind of fantasy film. He's going to do this, So it's like, and see, this is one of the things I realized when you mentioned about this, Jack, how ambitious he was, building his own stuff from scratch and doing all these other things. That let me know that this guy was the person to do these films, because if you're ambitious enough, you got that drive to do it. That shows me right there that you shouldn't judge someone on their past. You really should see what can they do right now and see if it's going to go the distance like it did. Because let's be honest, Lord of the Rings trilogy, it's like blew everyone out the water. I mean, it took a ton of Oscars, it took a lot of awards, and it's like, and then it made me realize, like myself, like, I really gave this person not the benefit of the doubt. He was somebody who really had, and I think that's the thing about certain people like that. It's like they come from humble beginnings, and once they get the so-called the ride to be able to do something, to do it and go forward with it, it lets you know right then and there. It's like, don't gonna push them away and thinking like, oh, that person's not gonna be able to do it. It's like, because I have seen a lot of like actors, directors, and other kind of people in the industry, and I'm like, these people are not gonna pull this off. They're not gonna do a enough job with this. You see the end result, and it's like, okay, Walter, just shut up, just enjoy it, and realize like this person had it in the bag already. So for me, Peter Jackson, even though he has some potholes along the way, I feel that he's earned respect from me, like so many others, for his work. Even though some of him may never see the light of day or whatever, I feel he deserves the kudos for what he brought to the screen.
I mean, I always wonder, like, the person who's probably a huge Lord of the Rings fan at the time, when they announced Jackson did it, and he only knows him for one movie, and he's probably gonna look at his like news, and he's like, the guy who directed that Muppet movie on acid?
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever seen Meet the Feebles, that is probably one of the most insane movies I've ever seen in my life. And what I love is if you see the Electric Mayhem show on Disney Plus, Jackson makes a cameo, and they confirm that the Feebles are Muppet canon. They're actually Muppet canon. Because Jackson comes out and he meets up with Electric Mayhem, and they're like, we haven't seen you since the Feebles controversy. And Jackson's like, well, you know, the Feebles are actually in witness protection right now. So, like, they made the Feebles canon, Muppet canon, which is that's insane. That is borderline insane.
Yeah.
Everybody actually said after The Hobbit, they said Jackson should just make Meet the Feebles too. He should just make another Feebles movie.
That'd be something to go that distance and do that.
That'd be amazing if he could go back and do one of his early movies. I think he would get recognition for that.
Well, he's doing documentaries now, so.
Yeah, he did the Beatles documentary that's on Disney Plus is actually really good. So he's good at restoration. I heard something. I heard rumors a while ago he was going to maybe do something with Doctor Who at some point. I can't remember.
And which reminds me, I mean, back then I hear some rumors about they're gonna make a Kong TV series or a movie on Disney Plus. But I'm not sure.
It's floating in the air because I think Disney's just waiting for the public domain to drop to do it. I know they've been working with I think Joe DeVito, who did Kong King of Skull Island. I think they're working with him on something. But I'm going to be honest, it's Disney Plus. I don't think it's going to be that good. I'm more excited for Monarch, if anything. Like I've noticed lately, a lot of the Kong streaming stuff has not been the best. I knew we were in trouble after King of the Apes, which was terrible, absolute dog shit. Forget my language. That was awful.
Yeah, and. Yeah, I never seen no series on Netflix, but I'm glad I did it. I'm afraid this is gonna be terrible. I mean, like I did watch a few Kong anime series, like the Kong anime series. I watched 1 or 2 episodes on Tubi, and
the one from 2000 or the part of the Monarch universe, the anime.
Oh, the one from the 2000.
Yeah, the Monarch one's on Netflix, not Tubi.
Well, there's was it Skull Island, which is the King Kong anime that's on Netflix that's part of the Monsterverse canon.
I'm talking about the one where Kong is all blue and is.
Yeah, or as I call it, Canadian Kong, because that was our we take responsibility for that, and I'm so sorry. Canada cannot produce Kong movies. We should have learned that since we did freaking Yeti back in '77. Where we had a Kong knockoff attack Toronto, and it was an Italian-Canadian production. So it was not good. As a Canadian, I apologize.
That's all.
Yeah, but the one animated Kong that I rather watch a lot is the Mighty Kong, which is the one you hate.
I have multiple copies of it that I rightfully abuse of because I have a grudge against the company, the Lana Film Company, who owns the movie. I did a review, and they gave me my first copyright strike, and it wasn't because of copyright. It was because we don't like your review. Take it down.
Wow.
But your movie sucked. I'm sorry. Your movie was garbage. The only saving grace is I got Jodie Benson to sign one of the copies I own.
I actually met her at Wizard World Comic Con at Rosemont.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, but anyway, so we already talked about everything. We already talked about Peter Jackson. I mean, let's talk about how we know so much about the film. Like I know how they did the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building was all computer generated. It took them like 18 months or 16 months to design the Empire State Building.
Well, they actually went to the Empire State Building to film all the ins and outs. And I remember in the behind the scenes that Peter Jackson was saying that they noticed the cameras were starting to act weird, and it was because of all the different radio waves and stuff coming through.
The spike thing. Well, it's interesting because they had first started building the digital New York for the 96 production, and you look at the render that they had planned at the time, and it looks like something out of like an N64 game. But what happened was when they did when they eventually got to doing Kong, they actually uploaded that low resolution of New York, and they used that for the previs to do the digital storyboards to help like map it out. And that was one of the first things they did before they even had a full script. In fact, when they did that research trip to the Empire State Building, it was right after they won the Oscars for Return of the King, and they immediately already casted Naomi Watts. And Jackson actually said, "I only casted her because I saw her in The Ring, and I thought she was great." So she
The Ring,
her mainly for her scream, because she could scream so good. And he says that's my Fay Ray. And they went to New York. They did this research trip. They went to the Empire State Building literally like a month after they won the Oscars. They were already in America at the time. They're like, all right, well, we're in California. We might as well fly to New York and do this. And when they went there, one of the last things they actually did was they actually went and visited Fay Ray herself. And
yeah, that's what I heard. Naomi wanted met the original Andera herself, Fay Ray, and
it was mainly, I guess, to get her blessings because she was like the only survivor of the original films alive at the time.
And she was. I was gonna say that they were gonna have her in the film as a cameo, like for. I think just for the ended part when she said the line, it wasn't the airplanes, it was Beauty killed the beast. But sadly, she didn't make the cameo because she passed away before production was.
It was literally like a month before production. She passed away at 96 years old.
I was going to say she was almost 100 years old, wasn't she?
Yeah, well, the idea of her making a cameo for the Universal remake actually stems back to the 75 script, where she would have been one of the reporters during the New York stuff. And then at the end of the film, she would come back and say the line. And then Jackson revised that for his version since the 96 script. And when the final film came out, he did offer, and she's like, she said no, because like, hey, I'm old, I'm retired, I can't do it anymore. And they did stay friends after that initial meeting. And the one amazing thing was when they were visiting her, obviously Naomi was asking about like what was it like being an actress in 1933, and there were so many questions, and they were thinking, oh god, we've annoyed her, and she'd be like, no, and no to everything you just said. And one of the funniest parts that she would ask Naomi, she said, how much do you weigh? And Naomi said, I don't know, Faye, 110, 115. And then she's like, I weigh 100, 99 in the morning. And the last thing she said to Naomi was, before they left, she grabbed her hand and she said, Ann Darrow is in very safe hands, meaning she passed the torch to Naomi. She said, she's your character now. Take care of her for me. I think she even knew I'm not going to make it around this time. So you know what? Give it to her. She'll take care of it. And Naomi did fantastic overall. So that was one of the first things they did on the production. Then immediately when they got back to New Zealand, Jackson's like, all right, boys, we're doing King Kong. Let's go. The deal signed. Actually, the deal was signed right when they were in the middle of Two Towers, doing the post-production on the Two Towers. They immediately 2002, they already had like the deal signed.
The go ahead,
Yeah, the only issue was they had less time than what they did on Lord of the Rings. They only had like maybe like 2 years to get it done, which is insane. So,
wow.
Yeah, the fact that like all the visual effects on this one were more than all 3 Lord of the Rings films combined. There were more digital shots here than in all 3 Lord of the Rings movies.
Because I think this movie had like over 3,000, maybe more effects shots, something like that.
Something like that. Well, it's interesting too, because you look at it now, like everybody thought at the time, oh, it's all CGI, it's all CG.
No.
What's interesting is that while New York was all completely digital, except for like the backlot sets they built, they only built the first like 20 feet and then they extended it with CG, which to this day is still impressive. Like it still looks great. Skull Island, surprisingly, was all done in miniatures. The only things that were CGI were the compositing and the digital creatures.
Yeah, I would say that the designs of Skull Island was like, I think they use actual clay sets. They use for modeling for the.
It was all models. It was all miniatures. It was all models. Jackson was trying to be as practical as possible. I think he was also trying to stay true to the original King Kong, where all of Skull Island was a miniature. So he did try, and actually, honestly, like I think, in my opinion, that is how you do CGI. You don't just create everything in a computer You use it for compositing actual practical elements. You use it to create digital creatures, but that's it. Like, you even notice in the documentaries, even down to like the elements of the animals, like stomping their feet or plants moving, were all done practically on blue screen, and it just took the computer technology to just combine it all. Like it's almost like a big sandwich, essentially, like a perfect
Right.
Yeah.
layers.
Exactly.
And
So,
and you know the scene where what I just noticed that I didn't even know until I did some research, but you know how the spider pit scene when they're find the bugs and the all that, when you know what Jack Black is like just swings
Yeah,
around and
stomping
all
on
that.
you
And
and do that.
he you know that's he's not really in that because you know he was all like what Andy Serkis did with Kong, but he's just all like
He's
dots and everything
blimey.
like for the spider pit scene.
I
And
think it
just
was because
finding
they
the
had
bug.
to surround them with it, and so they had to kind of create a digital double in the computer so they could like composite the bugs on him as well. So that was something they also like. Some of that had to be done in order to like get the. It's more about, again, it wasn't about creating a digital character. It was about just getting the compositing exactly right, so it was a lot easier to do in post. So,
Which they did a great job at, I have to say, because I'm just like those creepy crawlers coming out the walls and whatever. I'm just like, man, what are these things? And they just, it's like they're there, you know, you feel it there, you know.
Yeah.
My favorite fact about that is the pit slugs that eat Lumpy, which is, let's be real, straight out of a hentai. Let's just be real.
Yeah, for a moment, I thought they were like giant earthworms.
That was what I was thinking. Ooh, yeah.
The funniest thing is Jamie Beswarek, who I've actually met, who designed those things. He actually sculpted them. I asked him about this because they kind of confirmed to the documentary. It's my favorite fact is that when they're talking about it, they know what they did. It's one of those, you know what you made. You knew it was almost going to give you guys an R rating, and you didn't care. Jackson did not care because literally the final maquette of this thing, Jackson was eyeing that the most, and everybody in the design room was like, "Oh God, there goes the rating. There goes our PG-13." But apparently they allowed it. This is actually, I'll say this. This is probably one of the last hard PG-13 movies ever made. Like, this earned its PG-13.
I'm glad they didn't make this movie an R-rated.
Kong Skull Island is pretty hard.
Yes, I was about to say, it's like Skull Island is like a little bit. It's a much harder. Yeah, PG-13 that I've seen.
Kong literally rips all of the skulls.
That was a Mortal Kombat move. But I think it's the first Kong movie to drop the F-bomb too. Actually, it was the first Kong movie to drop the F-bomb.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is with those like slug creatures. Was it Gina Acevedo, the makeup prosthetic guy? He basically just opens up. He says, "It's just basically a penis with teeth. That's all it is." So and even I asked Jamie, I said, like, that was the idea. He's like, yeah, that was the idea. I was just shocked they picked it. I was thinking they're gonna the studio's gonna wring my neck out for this, but no, apparently, like, you know, you never see reactions to that scene alone. It freaks everybody out.
Especially in Lumpy's head was like inside the tongue of the worm. Like,
right.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, sorry, you won't be able to monetize this video later.
The thing is that I know Jackson did it mainly because he knew about the legends of the spider pit scene from the original.
Which was lost and destroyed in the original.
I think it's come out that actually it was never filmed because I think they were about to make it. They did test shots, like they did like photos, like tests, like sort of like a reference. But then I think Cooper came in during the middle of production and said, "We're not shooting this anymore. We're gonna cut some costs and just not shoot this." So,
but didn't they do a test stop motion point for one of those spiders or whatever for that?
Yeah, they did. That Peter Jackson recreated that scene and just reimagine it.
But in terms of the rumored preview screening that they cut it because it was too shocking, I think that was an exaggeration of Cooper's vivid imagination to tell the story a bit, very elaborate. That came out, so there was never a test screening of it. But with this movie, Jackson's determination was to make sure that scene stayed in the film, and how he did it was by putting the main characters in there. And that was his idea, to kind of just make it where it becomes a plot point where you can't cut the scene. And I think that was a very, very smart move on his part.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Like that.
and Peter Jackson was gonna put his own version of the spider pit scene in the original, but he doesn't want to get his hands on the original projection, and
So it's just a special feature.
So instead he just put it in the bonus feature.
Well, what's so ironic too is that, like, while the spider pit scene didn't get cut from the theatrical release, ironically the swamp scene did. That actually got cut from the theatrical version, and it was only it was probably the most prominent scene.
Oh yeah, are you talking about like the one that had the extended version?
Yeah, the swamp scene that was never in the theatrical version, and I was kind of like, oh wow, I remember they did documentaries, so I guess they cut it. But that was probably the primary major reason to get the extended edition was for that scene alone. And it is a great sequence. It is a really fun scene overall. Making the scene like that myself, I know how difficult it is because we actually, in my movie, we did the swamp scene. We built a raft. We put it on a pond. We had our actors out in the water with none of that. With no like life vests or anything. We braved it. It was like Jackass for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember when I saw the trailer of it that I did mention earlier in the beginning. I mean, when I saw the trailer, I know they showed like the swamp scene. It's like there's something in the water that's coming after them. It's not the bronze, so it's some kind of weird crocodile fish looking. It's after them. I was feeling that I'm looking forward to see that in the theater, but it never did. It was just cut out in the original theatrical version. But instead, they put an extended version. When I first discovered the Blu-ray edition of it at Walmart, I noticed they had the extended cut. I was so excited. I wondered if they had the swamp scene, and they did.
I think it was ashamed. I think it was a one scene. I'm like, you shouldn't have cut this. This is a great scene. It was a matter of length because this was like this was getting as long as Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And I also, it's interesting how like this is the first Kong movie. That's interesting because people say, oh, this movie never got a VHS release. Actually, it did in Europe, and I can't remember which European country. It did get a VHS release, but it was on like one of those 2 tape things, which is interesting. If you look it up, you might be able to find it.
Yeah, and I also I want to talk about some extended scenes. I mean, I did watch the extended cut a few days ago. I mean, I can't remember. I remember some scenes. I remember it was like I remember the Triceratops scene. I mean, which is not a Triceratops. It's another
type of
Yeah, I think it's Styracosaurus or something like that. I mean,
just say Ceratopsian.
The Styracosaurus attack.
Dinosaurs were designed for the movie. Like they were basically evolved dinosaurs. They weren't like the actual T-Rex. It was, the Vistatosaurus. They had to come up with names. Like even the swamp creature was called the Pteranodon. And I think Jackson didn't realize what the name of it was until he was on the commentary. And I think Philippa Boyens, the writer, or Fran Welsh, the writer, had actually mentioned it. And he says, oh, that's what they called it? Oh, probably to sell toys. And apparently that's what he just said. Yeah, they probably named it just to sell the toys. And he was right. That's all it was. It was just made to sell. It was basically named just to sell the toys.
But then again, it's also in the book. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Styracosaurus attack scene, that's kind of like almost a reference to on the original with the Stegosaurus attack. And the swamp thing with the Brontosaurus attack, I mean, that's kind of like what the Pteranodon attack in the swamp.
Was interesting in the Bull Goldman 75 script that Universal did. It was actually a Parasaurolophus at one point, and I thought, oh, that's interesting.
Wow.
That would have been kind of cool. And then a lot of people actually bash this scene, but I personally love it. I love the Brontosaurus Stampede. Like that is still probably film.
Stampede.
It literally is that. Like I love the re-edits where they put in the music from The Lion King. It actually really works well. It surprisingly matches well with the sequence. If you take like the Stampede from Lion King and you put that in Kong, it actually works surprisingly.
Well, which scene are you talking about? The music that reminds you of Lion King. Which
Well,
one?
no, what it is that people have taken the Brontosaurus Stampede and they would actually re-edit it with the music
Oh yeah.
from the Lion King, the Wildebeest Stampede music that Hans Zimmer did. They would put that music in that sequence, and it surprisingly works.
Fits well.
It really fits well. Yeah, I've actually done that. I've taken like other movies and I've actually put I've taken other scores from movies and put it over the film. Like if you put music from like Jurassic Park in there, like The Lost World, it works. It really fits the film.
But if you put Weird Al's Jurassic Park in there, does it work as well?
It would for like a music video. That'd be really funny. Actually, what's interesting, fun fact, when they were making the movie, to help the actors get into the scene, they would actually play music on set to help the actors emote in their cue. And what I noticed in the documentaries, if you listen carefully, the music they always chose was by James Horner. And the primary score used to tempt the film on set and probably in the edit was Braveheart. They used a lot of music from Braveheart by James Horner.
Wow.
And it's even in the trailers. You hear there's a track called Revenge in Braveheart where Wallace is going to go kill the Englishman after they killed his wife. And they use that in I think the second trailer for Kong. The music used was from Braveheart. And then actually what's ironic is that for the second trailer, the last piece of music they used was actually from Batman Begins, which was only a few months old when
wow
dropped. And that's, I think, how James Newton Howard actually was brought in. We might as well talk about the score here. He was brought in.
Let's talk about the score.
He was brought in at the 11th hour, which he's known to do because it was originally going to be Howard Shore. Now, there is a lost production diary that has Howard Shore composing the score, but then after that dropped, he actually left. Him and Jackson had a fallout, and then Newton Howard was brought in at the last minute. And I mean, it was for the better because at the time, Newton Howard was actually on a very high streak. He had just done, I mean, my favorite score he ever did was Waterworld. That is the best score of all time. But at the time, he had done Disney's Dinosaur. He did Atlantis, The Lost Empire.
That's one of my favorite Disney films, Atlantis, The Lost City.
He did 2003's Peter Pan, which another connection to Kong. If you know what's interesting is that for a lot of people, that Peter Pan movie is what introduced them to the band Coldplay because clocks used to play in the trailers. And then in one of the TV spots for King Kong, Peter Jackson's remake, they use a Coldplay soundtrack. They use the song "Fix You" in one of the TV spots for that film. So for a lot of people, any movie with James Newton Howard, if it had Coldplay attached to it, you were immediately gotten into Coldplay. So good band, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I just love his score in the film. I mean, especially the theme where Anne and Kong were there at the sunset when Anne is telling it's beautiful, and I just love that theme.
Howard knows how to do scores like that. Like he knows how to do that. Like, if you need a typical adventure movie soundtrack, you get him to do it, and he normally delivers very fast.
Well, speaking of Anne and Kong, are we going to talk about how this movie beat The Shape of Water and other things with the whole monster-human romantic subtext?
Yeah, are you talking about like comparing to the old and the new? Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I know that this, and I want to say this. I mean, like, it's like this film is kind of like, I mean, I know in the original that Anne always screams at Kong all the time in the original, but Peter Jackson is kind of like Anne doesn't scream as much until she met Kong, and then later she cares about him. It's kind of like they took that from the 76 film. Like Anne really does care about Kong, and it like between the middle and the end.
I could say that's almost like Stockholm syndrome, but I know it's more to it than that. It's some genuine caring and compassion for another creature, another entity. So it could be all on that line, you know.
I gotta say, like, Naomi Wanda does an amazing job as Anne Darrow. I mean, she is beautiful in the film. I mean, I don't know her much in other films that I don't know.
You
This
should
is
watch
the
The Ring.
only
She's
film
really good in The Ring.
she was in. Lord of the Rings.
No, she was in
No.
The Ring.
The
Oh
Ring.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
Or
she should have
Kabinski.
come in, or at least gotten an umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, she was. I know that she was in The Ring, and then, I mean, that was before I discovered The Ring. I mean, I only know her in Kong. I mean, that's the only film that I know her in before I did some research of other films she's in, and yeah, I mean,
I would recommend The Impossible. That was with her and Ewan McGregor. That was surprisingly well done. That's another film I would recommend. I would not recommend Mulholland Drive. That's a pretty rough film to watch.
let me say that her character, that Anne Darrow in this film compared to the original. I mean, the original, she's just a normal person who just looking for a job. She was at Apple Feast at some point. I mean, she's just. But in the Peter Jackson film, I mean, I noticed that she was a stage actress. I mean, she makes people laugh by doing some little bit of comedy. Like, she does like this Charlie Chaplin sort of performance in the beginning with the fake mustache and all that, and with this old classic song.
Stuff. It's the vaudeville acts. One of the things I will say about this film that I think is very interesting is that it is probably one of the most historically accurate depictions of 1930s New York during the Great Depression. This is probably one of the best Great Depression films I've ever seen, because the amount of research and detail they went into this is phenomenal. Like, there's so much deep stuff in there that you don't even notice. Like, even down to like the prohibition is part of it, because in when Carl Denham gets on the boat and he opens up one of those crates that says like apple juice or something, and he tells Jack, tell them I committed suicide. I stuck my head down the toilet, and he takes a drink. Well, that was a nod to prohibition, because he had basically snuck in alcohol on the boat. And just the amount of little details like that is phenomenal in how they really recreated that time period. I've never seen anything like it, honestly.
And if you really think about it, considering they had a short window of getting all this together and then filming all these things, like, yeah, that's pretty. That shows how much their heart was into this, making this film. They really were determined to bring it to the forefront.
Yeah, and I mean, I just love the part when Anne was imitating Kong. I mean, he's like when she's doing her funny performance in front of Kong and trying to make Kong laugh and all that. It was just great.
That actually surprisingly worked, because this could have easily been laughed off, but they made it work. And I think it's both her and also Andy Serkis with the mocap did phenomenal on that. Like, there's some shots they literally they didn't even have to animate it. They just had Andy there. There's that one part where he's watching Anne dance and he just does this little kind of shrug, and he kind of looks over. That wasn't like keyframe. That was just Andy on the mocap stage, just in character, and he did his homework. He actually went to he went to the local zoos and studied the gorillas there, but he wanted to see them out in the wild. So he said to Peter one day, I want to go to Rwanda. And Peter's like, well, we can't afford that for you, man, because we don't have the insurance. So he paid for the trip himself, and he went out to Rwanda. He didn't tell anybody. And at one point, his Jackson's agent called him and said, hey, Andy's in Rwanda, right? What? Yeah, he's up in the mountain with the gorillas. That little bugger, he didn't tell anybody. And then what does he do? He does the best research. He comes back with the best reference footage for Weta to use. They immediately took that footage and said, can we please have this for reference? And he's like, yeah. Wow. And they ripped it, and he had like the best stuff to use for creating Kong's character. So he went above and beyond with homework. Everybody did their homework amazingly well with this movie.
That proves somebody who's dedicated to the craft. It's like, yes, I mean, if you're going to defy your employer to do this just to make bring a character to life, it's like, Yeah, I think I'll risk my life just to bring this to the home plate.
You risk your life, you risk your career. Like, you don't have insurance. Like, you know how dangerous Rwanda is, but you don't care. You're going up there. That takes balls.
I have to respect that. I have to respect a person who's willing to, risk a life and limb just to say, well, I'm going to bring this particular fictional creature to life, and just to make sure that if people go watch this, it's like they're entertained. It's like, wow, I can't imagine the performance. That's an amazing, creature that's all, synthetic. It's like it's brought to life, but it's brought to life by someone who's saying, I'm putting life into this creature, and it just painted over that.
Yeah, I mean, like, so we already talked about Anne and not Naomi Watts, and let's talk about Jack Black. I mean, this is my first time I ever first discovered Black Jack. I mean, Jack Black. I mean, I said Black
Jack Black.
Blackjack is what you play in Vegas.
Yeah, I got this words backwards.
And then there's I wanted to make a chicken jockey joke, but I'm so tired of it. I'll say quickly what I think. I think a lot of people bashed him for this. They actually said he was completely miscast as Carl Denham. I think a lot of people were hoping for something like Robert De Niro because he looks exactly like Robert Armstrong, and he would have actually done pretty good. But I think what's interesting, I think with Jack Black here, the reason why they cast him, and you notice this in the writing, they weren't going for Cooper. They weren't going for Robert Armstrong. They were going for a very young Orson Welles. They were trying to get that Orson Welles look. And if you look at Jack Black, yeah, he kind of has those young Orson Welles vibes to him. Although for me, whenever I see him smiling in this movie, I'm thinking, did they just make him feel like it's almost like they want him to be like Jack Nicholson. He's got that Jack Nicholson grin, which I think is interesting. And people said he was miscast, but I look at it and it's a different take on the character. It's definitely more in line with Orson Welles. A little bit of kind of remind me of the movie Bowfinger, where he didn't get permission for filming the stuff. He would literally steal equipment, bribe people with money he doesn't have. He's basically a con artist the whole movie. An absolute con artist.
Yeah, I guess it I mean, I know this is the only film I know I first discovered Jack Black. I mean, I don't know from other films. I mean, I know him from like Shark Tales. I mean, as like his first DreamWorks picture that he does the voice of before Kung Fu Panda. I mean, like
School of Rock is another one.
I was gonna say School of Rock.
And I first discovered School of Rock after I saw Kong. I mean, I discovered his other films after that. I mean, and over the years, as I watched some of Jack Black's films and including Kung Fu Panda and other films I know him of, I mean, now I kind of don't see him as him playing Carl Denham. I mean, he doesn't have that Carl Denham feeling to it.
Well, they get a little weirdly meta with his character in the movie. Like
he plays it straight. He plays it straight.
Yeah, he plays it straight. Yes, but like there are those moments like he manages to get through the gate right as Kong takes Anne, and there's that moment where Kong looks back and they lock eyes. And I mean, Jackson himself said that's supposed to be sort of a meta connection of the characters linking, not just in this film, but also remembering the previous film. And or they're his weird little almost non sequitur rambling speeches in which he's equating reality to cinema, like after surviving the bug pit, talking about how you're when you die, you watch your life played on a projector, and if you're a real American, you get to see it in color. Things like that. It was a really odd touch when you get right down to it.
The part that I'm kind of like, he says it twice in the film, and I understand it the first time like a little bit, but the second time I'm like, it should have been here. because when all of his crew start getting killed, when Mike dies, he's on the boat and he says, "I'm gonna finish this film for Mike. I'm gonna finish it and I'm gonna donate the proceeds to his wife and kids." But then later on, he says the same thing in the swamp scene, where after they've encountered dinosaurs, he adds to it where he says, Herb didn't die for nothing. He died for what he believed in. I'm going to honor that. He died believing that there was still some mystery left in this world, that we could all have a piece of it for the price of an admission ticket. God damn it, Preston, we're going to finish this film for Herb. We'll finish it and donate the proceeds to his wife and kids. And nowadays, I can't see that scene without seeing CinemaSins saying, "Only now does Preston realize what kind of an asshole Carl is."
Yeah, if you think about it, he's more of a antagonist than a protagonist to a degree. If you think about it, because he is that kind of
Fred Wilson in the original, or Fred Wilson in the '76 remake. A lot of Charles Grodin in there. Actually, what's interesting, I wanted to bring this up very quickly, is Preston, played by Colin Hanks, who's Tom Hanks' son, which I think is kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, Preston is Tom Hanks' son, Colin. Good, actually, surprisingly good. Very good in this movie. I really liked him in this. But yeah, with him, I will say, like, I liked him in this movie. I still like him in this movie, but I think with Jack Black, I think he's just overdone now. I'm actually, can I be honest, I'm kind of getting tired of him. I'm kind of getting
Well, Jack Black, he's gonna be in the next kaiju film that's Anaconda.
remake of the 19.
Listen, I saw the trailer for that, and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, please don't play the song Anaconda, don't you son of a gun."
Anaconda.
You just can't help yourself, can you?
I mean, it's just how it is,
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, I'll say the other movie I do like him in. It's one of my favorite movies. Be Kind, Rewind. Surprisingly very good. It's him and Mos Def. It pretty much started the Swedish genre of filmmaking. That movie started it. It was actually one of the first movies ever advertised on YouTube. It had a huge effect on YouTubers. This is early YouTube, like 2008. And actually what I love is there is a nod to King Kong in that movie. So I think that was kind of nice that Jack Black did that, I think. I think that was more his idea. But if you want a good movie with him, watch Be Kind, Rewind. That is probably one of his better movies.
Yeah. And let's about the guy who played Jack Driscoll, that I forgot the actor.
Adrian Brody.
I mean, he does a good job playing as Jack Driscoll, and yeah, I do see him a little bit as Jack. I mean, he's more of a like in the original, like he's more like a boat adventurer. I mean, in this one, he's more like a playwriter, and he also adventurer too, and he just falls in love with Anne.
And this was before or after The Pianist. Well, which one was it? Was it before or after?
I think it was after The Pianist.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah, it was after.
Yeah, because I watched that movie and I realized he's pretty much playing the same character. It's like the character jumped from one movie to the other. It's funny because when I tell people that it was originally going to be Bruce Campbell in '96, they said, "Oh my God, Bruce Campbell would have been way better in this role." Which is interesting. We kind of got that in Kyle Chandler in this movie as Bruce Baxter, who is more of the character in the original Kong. And what's interesting is that Kyle Chandler would later do more Kong stuff because he's in the MonsterVerse as well. So,
the guy who played Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner. Yeah,
Bruce Banner is the Hulk.
I'm surprised that when I watched Godzilla King of the Monster and he was in it. I mean, when I did research of the film, the cast. I mean, I forgot that he was in Peter Jackson King Kong, and then he was in King Kong, and now he's in a Godzilla film.
I hear he's playing Hal Jordan as Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. He's gonna be playing that next.
Yeah,
really?
As I was saying, I mean, first he was in a Kong film, now he's in a Godzilla film, and then after Godzilla King of the Monsters, he's in Godzilla versus Kong, which means this is his second King Kong film he's ever in.
You ever wonder if he maybe had flashbacks when he was on
Yeah.
He's probably telling Alan Wingard, "Listen, I've done this kind of movie before. I know how this giant monkey interacts with people."
I bet can you imagine if he plays the same character from the Jackson film? I mean,
he plays the great grandson of Bruce Baxter.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
cool.
And then he will say, "Oh, my great grandfather has bad experience of that."
He was on Skull Island. He was there.
That'd be too much on the nose, I bet you. But that would be kind of cool to make a canon like that, you know.
There's just other Kongs out there that were a part of a different thing, I guess. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, the cast in this whole movie is great. Even like Thomas Ketterman as Captain Englehorn, not the original, but a nice addition. And again, this guy would later have a career. He was one of the Hydra agents in Marvel, in I think Age of Ultron. He was one of the Marvel agents in the opening of Age of Ultron with the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. So,
and he was in Wanted too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and the guy there's two guys who play Hayes and the other guy who played Jimmy. I mean, those two had a bond, it's like a friendship. I mean, I feel like Hayes has raised Jimmy.
He
like a father
figure in a way, yeah. And what's interesting about Jimmy is that when there was a scene that's in the film briefly, but it was more extended in the deleted scenes, was that Jimmy had a dance with Anduro on the deck of the ship. And in that, they actually used drum props from the original King Kong. And then on top of that, like Jamie was it Jamie Bell who plays Jimmy? He actually was a established dancer, and he actually helped Naomi train, because Naomi did brief dancing, but not to the scale. And what's funny is that when Naomi felt like she was holding him back, he said, "Don't worry, I'm going to make you look like Billy Elliot," because ironically, he played Billy Elliot in the movie. So he was Billy Elliot in that film. So that's where he got his dancing moves from. If you ever seen Billy Elliot, great movie with a very young Jamie Bell.
Okay.
Yeah, I never heard of that film.
It's a film about a kid who wants to dance and his parents won't let him because they think it's not manly enough, but he ends up doing it anyway. But it honestly is a very sweet movie. It's kind of like Almost Famous in a way.
And I know he was in the Fantastic Four 2015 remake. I mean,
oh my god, I forgot about that.
And he was also in The Adventures of Tintin.
Yeah, he was Tintin. He was really good. Him and Andy Serkis. I love Tintin. That was fantastic.
Believe me, I haven't seen that film Tintin in years since it came out on Blu-ray.
Still holds up. Surprisingly holds up really well. But yeah, so like the cast is great. I mean, one thing I can bring up is like one of the set pieces that I love is the Venture, the ship. One thing I brought up in if you ever like what they did was they built it different scales. They had the miniature, they had a digital one for brief shots, but it was all done miniatures. But a lot of it was also done with full size sets, which were on the back lot. They never took the actors out on water, but they actually filmed it. They actually did build a real ship on the water, and that was only for wide shots out at sea. But what's interesting is that I found this out. The ship was based on a ship called the Manuya, which actually held like 40 ton of tuna on board. So they actually had to sell off the tuna to build the ship and expand it. But it was built to only be used in those shots because as it was out at water, it actually was taking water on while they were filming it, and they constantly had to go back and do that. And eventually, what happened was it was a tourist attraction after the film came out, and then eventually the New Zealand government just took it out on the coast of New Zealand, and they sunk the ship. The Venture is down in the depths of New Zealand, of the New Zealand Ocean.
Wow.
Was that to make a natural like coral reef or something like that?
They dumped it somewhere where it was just going to stay there. I think they were originally considering making it like a scuba diving tourist attraction for people in New Zealand, but they didn't want to pay the money up front to put it in a certain place. So it's just somewhere at the bottom of the ocean. Somewhere off the coast of New Zealand. It's like finding the wreckage of the Titanic. Actually, it would be good for a sequel. Imagine like a group of scuba divers to find Skull Island and they find the remains of the Venture. It's like the opening of Titanic.
Yeah. So All right, so we already talked about the cast. Let's talk about the main character, Kong himself. Let me talk this. I mean,
Yeah.
like in Kong, like in the original, he's just almost like between a gorilla and a monster. I mean, he's sometimes he just walks like a normal gorilla. Sometimes he stand up 2 feet, and his face is almost close to an actual gorilla. Almost. I mean, and in other films, like in King Kong versus Godzilla, King Kong Escapes, he doesn't look. It looks nothing like compared to the original
Like a
gorilla. He just looks like he's like a mutated Bigfoot ape, and the 76 in King Kong Lives, he's just it looks like almost closer cross between a gorilla and Bigfoot, because the 76 he just stands on 2 feet.
A very
And
bipedal gorilla, basically.
yeah, and
Uh-huh.
but in Peter Jackson's Kong, I mean, they actually make Kong look so animalistic look and make him look like an actual 25 feet tall gorilla.
Literally, this is what it is in the film, and this is actually a really great figure, by the way. But yeah, this is ultimately what they went with. They were going for a legit gorilla. They didn't want to like be too fantasy based. What's interesting is that his design almost cost the film's release, because they had narrowed down a design that was much different, and you see it in the first trailer where he had like a snaggletooth at the top. He was a bit more like beaten up and everything. But halfway through, the final design wasn't really working for what they wanted. So halfway through production, they had to redesign him, and it actually did cost them to go back and redo a couple of shots. That when this is like halfway through post production, mid 2005, and they had to get all those shots done relatively quickly to like to
Wow.
the new model, because this is what the final version looked like, but the original version was a lot different. If you ever see the documentaries, it's kind of like
I gotta do research of that.
there's a
That
lot
to
of
me makes a lot of sense, because I mean, look, let's be honest. I mean, you got all that design for him, but then you have to remember that hair is a very complicated thing to do digitally, and you got to capture that so realistically with, like I say, the movement, or like I said, a gentle breeze coming along, all these things kind of come into play. So I mean, I can understand why that would take him for a while, because you want to show this is a living, breathing creature in
Yeah.
our environment, So it's like,
because in this one, Kong in this film, he just looks so gorilla looking and animalistic. Peter Jackson just made him look so gorilla looking. They really did capture like an actual gorilla, and just add more detail
like
of him.
the CGI, like 20 years later, the CGI, like, it still holds up. Like, it's almost like Jurassic Park, because everybody looks at the CG in Jurassic Park and they still say it looks great to this day. And I'd say the same thing with Jackson's Kong. 20 years later, some of these shots are just, I can't tell if that's like real or if that's like CG. And what's also crazy is this is also the first Kong movie to not do animatronic hands, which they were going to do, but this time around, Naomi Watts was just in a green, like kind of skin, like sausage, and so the hands are even CG, and it's so that stuff, like, I couldn't even tell half the time it was digital.
That's what made Weta so great. I mean, look, that's one thing about Weta at this time. It was overshadowing Industrial Light and Magic at the time, who were like a top runners in visual effects at this time. But Weta was coming out of the gut running with the Lord of the Rings, and they just like, well, we're still honing in with our craft. And I guess it just shows how good these people were in terms of their dedication to making something look real.
Yeah, Andy Serkis, he did an amazing job bringing Kong to life.
If you watch the ILM documentary on Disney Plus, they actually do confirm that by the time Kong came out, Weta became their biggest competitor. Like, they had competition by that point, and they straight out say, "Oh yeah, then Weta came along, and now we were in trouble." But yeah, going to that with Andy Serkis, yeah, the motion, they were top tier with motion capture. Like, well, George Lucas had the previs tech on his side, and Jackson had to borrow that for Rings. Jackson, I think, really pioneered and he perfected motion capture. You want motion capture, you go to Weta. You don't go to anybody else. ILM might have it, but it's nothing compared to what Weta had. Like they were top tier at that point. Every major studio after Kong said, like I think after Kong, it was actually James Cameron who was one that said, "Do you guys want to do Avatar for me?" And they're like, "Yes."
Yes.
Yeah. You could say Skull Island's sort of a prototype for Pandora in a way.
Yeah, and
Good point. Yes.
Yeah.
yeah. So we already talked about Kong. I mean, so let's talk about the natives and the dinosaurs. I mean,
Okay.
I know I've kind of left out the natives part when we talk about the characters. I mean, like
We kind of mentioned it earlier, but I mean, it was just just a spot.
like the natives in this one, they're not like in some of the other Kong films in the original. The original and the other ones are just the natives are just harmless and they're just in the other films. But in this one, they're just violent savages.
They're very like you wouldn't forget them. Let's just put it that way. You realize like they put a fear of God into you in a sense, you know.
They have a character compared to the original. They have a very interesting, rich history, and if you ever read like the expanded lore, what's interesting is that they're not the first natives on the island. They actually are the next round of them, because the original. What I love about Skull Island is that there was a civilization before them, and that they were just living in the remains of it. I think in one of the documentaries, Jackson said that the natives of the island were actually survivors of trading ships from like the 1700s that crash land on the island, and they live there, and they're all inbred. They're all inbred. That's the crazy part. So like they just that caused, and so eventually they saw Kong as some sort of god, and that's what led them to do all the human sacrifice stuff. But they aren't the first natives on the island. They're actually the second round that just lived in the lands that used to be run by this. Like that's what I love is they give like the island and the wall. They give it a character where the gates aren't just there just to let Kong come in and out. They were made to like bring in maybe creatures that maybe they were using them like the Flintstones, where they were like building wagons that would use them for transportation and lifting stuff. So basically what we're saying is Skull Island was like the abandonment of Bedrock. What if the civilization was just Fred Flintstone? Yeah, buddy, we're living on Skull Island. The last thing we see on Skull Island, Barney, my pebbles! Can't get me, Fred.
Oh my god!
I want a whole Flintstones Kong movie now.
Never know. In the universe, they might just do that.
and I know that Vicky Hansenton did play the creepy old native woman who is saying Donkey Kong.
Am I the only one who thinks she said Donkey Kong?
Yeah, it almost sounds like a Donkey Kong.
So now I'm like,
Donkey Kong.
So now I just expect Donkey Kong to I expect now get a cut of the movie where it's just Donkey Kong country music at it.
And you see barrels and stuff like that around the corner.
King Kong wearing a red necktie, and
that'd be funny.
Yeah, and you do know that when she plays her, you do know that's just old makeup she was wearing.
Oh, the makeup's fantastic. That's actually Gino Esposito, who also did all the prosthetic makeup on Lord of the Rings. He was mainly for John Rhys Davis's Gimli. He did a lot of that for this film too, and they did a lot of research on that as well, figuring out how to make all that work. So a lot of that's fantastic. It's very prominent in the ride at Universal Orlando. The ride,
there was
the natives there are just prominent as well.
Yeah, the natives and the ride. I mean, they're just only for the line section. I mean, they did have that old woman animatronic there. It's like speaking a native language.
They have the animatronic. They have actually like images of natives going by. If you look in, like into the crevices of the tombs, you see that. But what's also crazy, I don't know if they do it anymore, but they've actually in the early days of that ride, I managed to see it beforehand. They actually also treated the line like a scare maze at like Halloween Horror Nights, where they have actors as the natives that would come out and actually spook you in the ride too. That's what's crazy. Like they have actors that they pay to come and like scare you
Wow.
in faces of than like waiting in line.
Yeah, I can't wait to go on that ride again. I mean, speaking of rides, I want to talk about the ride. I mean, I haven't gone on that ride since 2019, since the year before the pandemic got started. Like, I'm glad that the pandemic is all over. I mean, and yeah, I want to talk about the ride. I mean, wish I'm going to Florida next week.
You're getting the better ride because I've done both Hollywood and Florida. Hollywood was a test run, and
yeah,
okay.
I've been to the one in Hollywood. It feels like that was short.
This one is very much okay. Let's put it like this: Hollywood is the theatrical cut. Orlando is the extended edition.
Yeah,
there is more. It has the same sequence, but there's just more before and after that just really adds to it. And that ride is like, I'm glad they brought Kong back. I love that it's right next to Jurassic Park. It fits the theming.
yeah, and
for me, it's the wall. That is a full-scale wall of the island, and it's beautiful. Like the major props of the production design and that animatronic. Outside
yeah, I love that animatronic. I actually got sit next to the animatronic when I was riding the ride, and I was like, I think my mom took a picture of it. I mean, I don't know if she did. I mean, yeah,
it's one thing about the ride that's a little disappointing is that like there's no banana breath, and if they really wanted to, they should put a photo up of Kong like at the end of the ride where you could like take a picture with them, because I know a lot of people that actually do sneak photos like that. I've even done that a few times. So
it was a great experience. It was in 3D, and I'm surprisingly they have some new human characters in it. I mean, Jack Black's not in that ride. I mean, not even Naomi Watts. Yeah, they just have new.
Now.
It's the sequel. It's the sequel in a way that kind of almost got made, except it's more of an expanded adventure on the island with a bigger team.
It's like a spin-off. Like,
you know what it reminds me of? Do you guys remember? I'm sure Jedi Grand will remember this. Do you remember at Six Flags, Dino Island, the ride, the simulator ride?
Yes.
And then there was like Dino Island 2 3D, which was about getting the dinosaurs off the island. It kind of the ride reminds me of Dino Island a little bit. Sort of the same scenario. We already know the adventure. This is just an expansion team on the island now. Like there's like just more to it. And that's what it kind of reminded me of.
That's true.
Yeah, but I still can't wait to go on that ride again when I go to Florida next week with my girlfriend. And my girlfriend is gonna go on the ride with me. This is gonna be her first time going at Universal.
First time, okay.
I will say a little advice. I heard they're doing huge refurbishments on Jurassic Park for like the next year or so. So the ride Jurassic Park won't be open by the time you get there. But if you need my advice, a lot of people go on Jurassic Park just to get cooled off from the water. But if you want a better one, do the Popeye ride. The Popeye ride is way better.
Oh,
you get more water in Popeye.
Oh, so the Jurassic Park ride is closed for now?
They're closed for now. They're just doing major refurbishments. No, I don't think they're going to be reamping it to Jurassic World. Not yet. I think the Park brand is much more popular, but they're just doing major refurbishments, fixing up the animatronics. They need a lot of TLC, or I think that's the term, like just for the gears and stuff. They need to redo the water, so they're just doing huge refurbishments right now for that particular ride. But the Velocicoaster will be open, and other stuff at Jurassic Park will be open. But that main one is just going to be off for like about a year.
Oh, I love that ride.
I love
Well,
it too.
Mike-
But it needs upgrade. It needs some updates.
My advice would be careful taking your girlfriend on the King Kong ride, because we know what happens when King Kong gets his eyes on a woman. I mean,
I
you might
did
go on with her and come out alone. So.
Yeah. Well, I did made her watch the Peter Jackson Kong film with me like a couple of months ago, and when it's on Netflix, and she complained to me about how long this film is. Like, how long is this film? and Chris Very 99, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I brought it up.
I want to say too, like, I mean, if you want a Kong ride that's a little easier and isn't as scary, well, kind of, but there's no Kong, just do Revenge of the Mummy. Because there's actually, what I love is if you go to Revenge of the Mummy and
that's where I'm gonna go.
You go to the gift shop, they kind of established that Jonathan in the Mummy knew Carl Denham. They were pen pals, actually.
Oh,
Wow.
And that, because there you see letters from both Carl Denham and Jonathan, and how Carl was saying, Jonathan, I found this amazing island full of dinosaurs, and there's a giant monkey. We're gonna bring him to New York. He's gonna come down to the premiere, buddy. It's like there's so much expanded lore in the ride gift shop. There's even a map of Skull Island in the gift shop. So there's like little Easter eggs, because that's where the old King Kong ride used to be, was in that
Yep.
where the mummy is. And there's still elements
That's right.
of Kong there. So you can find, like, I think they actually left the track from the tram on the roof because that they
because the last time
it was just bolted into the foundation of the soundstage.
Yeah. Yeah, because the last time I was in Florida in 2019, I did went on the Mummy ride. I mean, I tried to spot a few Easter eggs in the ride, including the King Kong statue in the Golden Room, and
Keep going.
He's probably getting a visual.
I was gonna say he's getting.
I'll hold on to my thoughts.
Yes, that's kind of.
I was going to say, I don't have the originals. I wish I had that statue. I really wish they would make reproductions of it, but they don't. So I had to settle with making my own, and I used the Aurora model kit, and I just turned it into a statue from the ride.
Okay.
So this is what the statue in the ride kind of looks like.
Wow. And
So I just took the
yeah,
Aurora
you
model
spotted
kit.
something like that on the ride, and
Yeah.
and when we were started to go up, when the cart was going fast, and like I tried really hard to spot the tracks, and I did saw the tracks.
The best way to do it is you can get a VIP behind the scenes tour, and if you ask, they'll actually take you sort of into an area of the ride, and they'll actually shine a little light so you can see where the tracks are. I actually did that. I did a VIP, and they actually took me into the ride area, like where you could hear like the roller coasters going by, and they actually shined a light wherever we could see it, and it was like, oh, okay, that's where they are. I could never figure out where they were. So.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't wait to go there, and yeah, I was ashamed that the Jurassic Park ride is closed for now, and
It'll come back though. It'll come back. It's just some TLC and some new water.
Yeah, and well, we already talked about the ride, the film, and everything. How many of you have played the video game?
I have played 3 versions of the game. I have it on 360. It is incredibly difficult but fun. It's very much like a Tomb Raider game. I played the Game Boy Advance version, which is much more of a overhead top, like kind of side scroller kind of like it's like what if a Kong game was on Super Nintendo, and it much more follows the original film than it does the Jackson remake. And then I played the DS version, which is horrible because it actually, I found out the game was never finished. They released an unfinished game on the DS.
Wow.
The graphics were half-assed, and then on top of that, the music, they actually didn't have time to render all the music into the game. And what's crazy about it is that they ran so much out of time on the game for DS, they had to recycle music from Disney's Dinosaur into the game to fill in those gaps that they could never finish. So
yeah, they used the stock music from Disney's Dinosaurs, and
yeah, if you play any of the games, avoid the DS version. It is horrible.
Yeah, I did watch your video game video of it, and yeah, it was just hilarious.
Yeah,
I mean,
I couldn't even play half of it. Like the problem was is that my pen didn't work. The controls were awkward. It was a very awkward game to play.
a good thing you destroy the game by ripping his jaw.
I was doing a nod to where he rips the T-Rex's jaw. I was just ripping the game's box, like basically doing that essentially.
Yeah, and that was my dog barking. I don't know if you heard.
That's okay. Hey, he's just in agreement with what he's saying, or he's excited.
Like, I like the game. You shut your mouth.
Right?
But yeah, the game's good. I don't know if any of you guys have played the game.
Yeah, I played the original Xbox version, not the 360 version, but the original Xbox version. I guess, and let me be honest, that's what I asked Santa for Christmas that year when the film came out.
And technically, it would have been cheaper than the 360 version too. Like, I mean, I would say the last great game released on the original Xbox for me personally was the OG Star Wars Battlefront 2. That is peak Star Wars gaming for me. So
yeah, and I wish they would re-release that game on Nintendo Switch, like for its anniversary edition.
Oh, like a new remaster with better graphics. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be so cool. And
what's interesting about that game too is that like that was specifically Microsoft also working on it. It was Ubisoft and Microsoft working closely with Jackson on it. The cast came back for it, but what's crazy is that game's relation, like the relation with Microsoft, Ubisoft, and Jackson was so good that eventually Microsoft actually asked Jackson, "Hey, do you want to make the Halo movie?" And he almost got the Halo movie made. And then,
he almost did.
What happened was, I can't remember what it was, but apparently the movie never happened. But then eventually what happened was Jackson had made all these, they had actually went ahead and made props and stuff for Halo. They had made the Jeep and everything for this film that never got made. So what they did was, to save resources, they took those props and recycled them and eventually made District 9. So District 9 was almost the Halo movie that happened. So a lot of props.
Wow.
Halo,
I am a huge Halo fan.
All the props for the Halo movie actually got recycled for District 9. If you look closely, you can see some of the props.
Yeah, and
District 9 is a good movie too, actually. It's a really solid film.
I never seen it. Maybe I'll give it a watch someday.
One of the best Alien Invader movies out there.
Well, Invader.
Yeah.
Say invader.
They weren't exactly invaders. They were refugees.
Well, but it's just taking the Alien Invader genre and just flipping it. But yeah. Anyway,
Although,
the game eventually led to District 9.
Yeah, and so like, I think we talked about everything. The video game, which is one of my favorite childhood games of all time. I mean, that it's almost like a Jurassic Park shooting game, almost close to it. I mean, and so yeah, it's been like 2 hours and 22 minutes, and yeah, I think that's just about everything.
Remember that too. See, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I know that film is a 3-hour movie, but we're almost got to that 3-hour stream that it's only been like 2 hours and 22 minutes.
Right.
And yeah, I think that we talked about everything, the original draft and everything, the film, and
I learned some things that I didn't know about the original draft. I mean, that was key. I mean, I like that.
I have one more interesting fact about it, because we didn't really talk much about New York, about the stuff in New York outside like being all digital. But obviously with the Broadway show that Jack Black does, that was all done as a nod to the original, using Max Steiner's music from the original Kong, even like the costume pieces and everything. But what's really interesting is that the Empire State Building battle, we all know it. It's in the original in this one. But what I love is there is a nod to the original, where if in the original film, Cooper and Schotzak, the directors of the original, actually were the pilot and gunners in the airplane shots. And Cooper always said with that cameo, he said, "Well, we made him. We should kill the son of a bitch ourselves." And that was something he always said. So Jackson wanted to honor that, and in that sequence, he is actually one of the gunners, Jackson, but his captain, his pilot, like the person driving the plane, is actually Rick Baker.
Yeah, the 76 King Kong.
In the ape suit, and there's in the documentary, Jackson goes up to him, he says, you have the biggest intake because you played King Kong in 76, didn't you, Rick? And Rick's like, yeah, and I want to kill him then too.
Yeah.
So, that's cool. Then there's like other cameos in that scene. One of the other plane pilots, the gunner is Rick Porras, who produced Lord of the Rings, but then his pilot, like the main driver, was Frank Darabont, the director of Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, makes a cameo, and he's a huge Kong fan, so he's in there. And then another plane is actually an actual military general who pilots one of the planes, and his gunner is Randy Cook, who has worked with Jackson a few times on visual effects, but he was the stop-motion animator on Q the Winged Serpent, and he does he's the gunner on that as well. So a lot of cameos in that film as well, like especially by the very end of it, you see a lot of like famous people for that, which I think is cool.
Yeah. And he says you didn't talk about the dinosaurs. I mean, we didn't talk about the V-Rex. I mean, when the film came out, when I look at the figures, the toys, I mean, they actually named the T-Rex called the V-Rex. I was like, V-Rex?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does that mean, V-Rex? It's like
the Statosaurus Rex.
The Vanosaurus.
The Statosaurus. And what the idea is with the dinosaurs, too, is that they are basically dinosaurs from 65 million years ago, but because they survived the extinction, they have evolved. They have become more aggressive, more intelligent. They're actually larger than their prehistoric counterparts as well. And the V-Rexes are actually a family. It's a mother, father, and a little the juvenile, which is sort of like the pup. And I think if you notice it, I believe the pup is the first to be killed. Then I think the matriarch is the second. The third is actually the male. The male is actually the last one to die.
Wow.
I think it's interesting. So there's a little whole history behind them, and that actually stems back from 96. Jackson had wanted to do that fight for a while. That same with the Brontosaurus Stampede. He wanted to do that. And if you ever see like a lot of the early versions, like one of the earliest versions was, if you remember in Kong Skull Island when Brie Larson gets swallowed up by the skull crawler and Kong rips out the thing to get her out. That was actually in Jackson's remake. Anne was going to be stuck in the jaws of the T-Rex. She was going to get eaten, and what happened was Kong was going to rip the jaws out to fish her out of the mouth. And that was in the original version, and I don't think they had really the ability to do that at the time. But that would have been crazy. Actually, just imagine, like, you're in the mouth of this thing, and Kong's just doing a Mortal Kombat move while you're in the mouth, and you're probably just covered in blood by the end of it.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
So,
yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be so weird. I mean, in Jackson's film, I mean, I find it the Skull Island film. I mean, because of skull crawlers and all that. But yeah, but at least they go in Kong's hand in Skull Island. It's just she was really in Kong's hand. It's like protecting her, and yeah.
I will say I actually do like the Brontosaurus Stampede.
Me too. Fun. Especially when they're all tumbled down at the Bruce shot one of them in the legs, and yeah, that was like my favorite part.
What's interesting is that a lot of people complain about that one, that's where the CGI is like too much, but again, a lot of that was actually done in miniatures and also real sets. And what's interesting is that the original, when they were going to do it in 96, it was actually going to be they actually had a real location they were going to shoot at called the Patingua Pinnacles. And that would later be used in Lord of the Rings as those like kind of pinnacle mountains that Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli on horseback get to the Paths of the Dead. in Return of the King, that was where the scene was going to take place, and that was planned since '96, and actually was also used in the opening of Brain Dead as well. Like the opening was going to, that was where the Brontosaurus Stampede was to take place. And in the original draft, it wasn't raptors. It was actually carnivores that were going to chase after the group, like a pack of them.
Wow.
And what happened was that they wanted to do raptors mainly because Jurassic Park. And Jackson said, well, we don't want to just recreate Stan Winston's creatures, so we decided to make it like a pit bull terrier. That was the idea of the raptors, that they were very pit bull-like in nature. So they have kind of like that face where it's a bit more like, kind of like like a lower lip, like very lower in the lips.
Yeah, I could say the Venatosaur.
Venatosaur.
The Venatosaurus, they almost like the designs of them, they almost like a cross between the Velociraptors and one of the baby Godzillas in the '98 film.
Well, if you look too, like this is just the skull. It has, if you look at it even from the skull, it has those pit bull qualities to it. You can kind of see the pit bull.
I can kind of see it.
You can kind of see it. That was their idea, was to go for that. There is actually some concept art from '96 where they kind of look like Komodo. They had the head of a Komodo dragon in a way, and I think that would have been interesting too if they went that direction. But again, it was originally supposed to be a Carnotaurus that was going to be a pack of those chasing after them in the '96 version. I think that would have been interesting, like raptor-sized Carnotauruses. That actually would be cool.
Yeah, it would be.
So,
well, guys, I think it's just about that time, and we talked about everything, and I want to say, like, thank you all for joining me for this special episode as for Peter Jackson's King Kong's 20th anniversary year, and that it was released to this day 20 years ago. And
seems like a long time ago.
Time flies. I was like 9 years old when I saw this film, and I'm 29 now. And
I'm 30. I was 35 at that time, so you know how old I am now.
I was 13. I was young and naive. 13-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, and I still love this film to this day.
I still love it.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest blockbuster films, and I'm glad they built a ride like many like years later. Like that was like 10 years later they built the ride of it, and yeah, and I still like this film. I mean, not too crazy about it, but I still like it to this day, and it's one of
charm to it.
Yeah, it's one of Peter Jackson's best films.
It is one of the better remakes. Well, I love '76.
Me too.
I think what's interesting is that as soon as we go into the public domain and we see remakes done on like the slasher stuff and all that, as Omni said, I think what's interesting is that it's gonna be interesting if any of them can actually go above Jackson. They're probably all gonna be under, but in terms of vision and ambition, can they? It's gonna be hard to top Jackson. He kind of just said, "I did the Titanic of Kong movies. You ain't topping me." So it'll be interesting to see, like down the line, when we see other people tackle the story, how they manage it and comparing it. But it's gonna be very hard to top this, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As I'm just, I mean, this is King Kong's second remake. Like compared to the '76 remake, but this Peter Jackson film is almost like closer identical to the original '33 film than the '76. I mean. And I know that in the original, Anne screams a lot at Kong in the original, but Anne in this one is just screaming as much because she cares about Kong in this one than the '76 version.
I'm reminded of what Nostalgia Critic said about favoriting the original. It's like, yeah, scream some more. Maybe he'll finally go away.
Yeah.
One thing I just noticed before we wrap this up, I just noticed, in the the 33 and the 76. You know, the scene where when Kong goes back to Anadron's lair. I mean, the Kong starts tearing off Anadron's clothes, and he's like a Dron's hot thing. It was almost thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jackson
but
doesn't do that.
Yeah, in this one,
Yes.
it never happened.
Yeah,
That's good.
I think it's because, again, change of times. That was another thing. I think also because he was making it more of a actual connection between these two rather than the girl being frightened all the time. It was playing more on that more than it did that, and so it made the relationship more stronger. By something like that, and I think that was actually for the better for this version.
Yeah, this is much better than. And
it does take away a little bit of the fear factor of Kong, but at the same time, like, you know, this is a modern take of this. Like, you're doing a remake of the original set during that time, but you're doing much more modern writing with it. I mean, even Jackson, what's interesting is that when they eventually did rewrite the script, Jackson did say in interviews that they asked him, why didn't you use the original 96 script? He said, we were different filmmakers at the time. We were capitalizing on other films that were being made. And also it was the 90s. There was a lot more, you know, extreme and a lot more like, he said the original draft they wrote is kind of cringy and kind of hokey. So he kind of felt, well, this isn't going to fly today. So we're just going to create something a bit more grounded in realism and a bit more grounded in what audience expect from somebody like me, especially after Lord of the Rings. They want something more serious and epic. And that's what I wanted to deliver to them.
Yeah. And so so thank you guys for joining me for this special episode of 20 years of Jackson's Kong, and I can't wait to go on the ride again that I haven't been to in 6 years, and I just
hope you take pictures. I hope
I will. Maybe I'll make a short outside the ride.
Do some nice try to get the wall when it's like the sun's like right peeking behind it. You get some great flares in the camera.
I'll try to make a short, not a video, just a short outside of me outside the ride. Maybe I'll have my girlfriend join me in this short.
Oh, that'd be cool, actually.
And those and the audience and the comments, thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more podcast episodes coming soon, and hopefully I'll do more Kong film podcast episodes soon, and I think this is be my last film podcast episode for 2025, and don't worry, there will be more coming soon in 2026.
I can't wait to see what you got cooking, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, and hopefully my next Kong film podcast episode will be Kong Skull Island.
Ooh.
But I haven't done the Mighty Kong yet. But I was a guest on another friend's channel. That's Nathan's channel of Moss Island Film Vault. He did an episode of the Mighty Kong, and I was in it. If you want to check that episode, I'll go. Be sure to check out in the Kong podcast playlist.
I'll definitely check that out. By the way, my girlfriend loves your artwork that you gave. I have the Kong Frontation thing you gave me at G-Fest. I have that pinned up on my fan art wall. She loves that. It's like a great piece. So she you've got honestly great artistry. That's some of my favorite fan art that I've received, honestly.
Hey.
And I'm kind of still working on this one.
That's really nice. I really love that. Actually, I noticed it's very. It looks like the camera's Titanic poster a little bit, which I like a lot.
Yeah, I kind of see that.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it, but I have my other King Kong posters right there, and that's basically.
Second one next to the tram, like the next to the tram, like a copy of the one, not that one, the other one at the end, the top one. Yeah, the top one on that side. Yeah, because that matches Confrontation.
Yeah, because Kong's holding and Yeah, that's one of my favorite too, and I also drew the other two. Yeah, I also drew the other two, which are not from the ride of the Banders. I just create my own version.
It's kind of cool. I actually like those. I wouldn't mind taking copies of those. Actually, those are cool.
Yeah, maybe I will make copies for you, Jack.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, when I met you at G Fest next year, and
I'm definitely gonna be trying
who
to come back
knows?
next year for sure. So I'm gonna try to come back next year because I have a lot of
Yeah.
friends locally here that are now interested, and they're like, "Well, dude, if we're going, you can tag along with us." I'm like, "Sweet, I get a free ride." That's my
I'm
dream.
going. Well, I'm going next year. Hopefully, I get a chance to meet you, Jack.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be prancing around the con. I've been thinking about doing a screening of my remake there for its 10th anniversary next year because that movie turns 10 next year. I'm thinking about it. I don't know.
Yeah, 76 remake.
Well, that's turning 50, and I'm hoping they do a screening at the theater. I would love to see it in cinemas. But it's more my remake that I did in 2016, my fan film. It has a 10th anniversary next year, and which it's cracked over 1 million views on YouTube. But I want to screen it actually at G-Fest for its 10th.
Yeah, maybe I'll do a podcast episode about your fan film about someday in the future.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll be down for guest starring on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So. Yeah, thank you guys for joining me in this episode to celebrate this film's birthday. And thank you all for watching. And, don't forget to like and subscribe. And like you say in Japanese, sayonara. No, this is American films. Bye-bye.
Bye.